just a bloke in a bar.
Guys, Origin, Game 1, the Bloke Monday crew, live show. We are back at the Locker Room Hotel. It is Bloke Live, brought to you by Mike Coolman. They have a wide range of high-quality portable fridges, portable freezers, insulated covers, drinkware, cooler bags, plus more. And they'll be giving away a Bloke-branded cooler on the night of the live show. So make sure you get some for your chance to win. Also, for a chance to win the Bloke cooler on the day, you have to be following Mike Coolman on Instagram. So go to Instagram right now, give him a follow to celebrate Mike Coolman partnering and powering the Bloke Live show. We've got an offer for you. That is right. Use code BLOKE20, so capital BLOKE, the numbers 20, for 20% off your purchase. There'll also be a link in the show notes of Apple, Spotify, but also YouTube that you can use. Make sure to use the discount code BLOKE20 for 20% off, and there'll be a link in the show notes for the product. At the moment, they're doing a great offer on the Mike Coolman 20 Recreational Series, which is a bloody good portable fridge or refrigerator. It's compact, portable, easy to carry on the next adventure. The Mike Coolman 20 Recreational Series fridge or freezer is perfect whether having a barbecue in the backyard with friends, a day at the beach or in the bush, working on site or in your truck and needing a fridge to keep your lunch fresh and drinks nice and cold. So that is, use code BLOKE20 or the code, you'll see the link in the show notes and you'll get 20% off. 20% off. So that's celebration of Mike Coolman partnering the Bloke Live show outside of Core Stadium at 6 p.m, Origin 1. The Bloke Monday review show will all be there, previewing the game and then having a yarn with you all. Plus, we'll also be giving away a custom-made Bloke cooler.
All right, cool. Round 12 results for Face the Music. So, first game, Dogs 44 defeat the Dargans 12. Mad Dragon was fuming. Great live stream. His poor neighbours. We said it before. I'll say it again. The other big talking point of this game, Sexton not booed. Great to see. Really good to see.
Well, he was booed by the opposing fans.
Well, and I don't blame him because he was fantastic. So that was great to see. Dan and Rue and myself, we foolishly backed the Dargans. Timmy and Matty, you successfully let the Dogs out, so 2 points for you guys. Well done. On to Friday night, Cowboys 42, defeat the Tigers 28. Tigers robbed again. 1 point for everybody except me. Everyone else tipped the Cowboys. You had the Tigers to cover. The line at time of recording was 10.5. It ended up being 14.5, but time of recording didn't happen. So 1 point for all you blokes, no points for me.
Harsh.
Battle of Brookie, Manly 26 defeated the Storm 20. Rue and Denon, disgraceful stuff. You had the Storm winning and covering, not good enough. Timmy and Matty took Manly for 2 points. I had Manly with the start for 1 point. So that's our Friday night footy. Rue on the road for this next one. Milk 16 defeated by the Chooks 44. Hainsey and the Chook Pen boys on tour, and the Roosters responded, which is good to see. What else have I got here? Hainsey and Clarkey spotted. Name a more iconic duo. Line was 10.5 points. Den, Timmy and Matty all had the Roosters winning and covering for 2 points. Guru and myself had the Chooks head-to-head, but the Milk with the start, so we just get the 1 point. Next game, Guru, Matty and myself smelled a bit of burley in the water. We all backed the Sharks in this one, but that smell ended up being poo in the bed. Sharks nil, defeated by Panthers 42. Matty and myself learned that the hard way. We both had the Sharks winning and covering. Timmy and Denon, you had the Panthers, who were the underdogs in this one, so you get the 2 points there. Rue, you had the Sharks head-to-head, but you had the Panthers with the start, so you get 1 point there. Get around Matty for this one, long time coming. Souths 42 defeat the Eels 26. Matthew and myself, we just get footy. We had Souths, the underdogs for 2. The rest of you had the Eels winning and covering. Pretty embarrassing stuff, so no points for you there. On to Sunday, Broncos 34 defeated by the Titans 36. No one had the Titans head-to-head. But Den and Rue and myself had them with a 12.5 start, 1 point for each of us.
Actually blew out to like a 15 or 14.5 start by him.
Remarkable stuff. And then the final game, the Wars 24 defeat the Fish 20. Den and Timmy and myself, we all had the Wars 1 to 12 for 2 points. Rue and Matty did not, so no points there. So how did we finish? Timmy, good round from you this week, mate. 12 points for you.
Finally.
Thanks, mate. Getting up for Origin week.
Finally.
Timmy, 12 points. I'll start calling you, mate.
Yeah,
if you're not careful. Matty, 10 points for you. Well done, double figures. Then we're into the single digits. Denon 9 points, myself 8, and then Roo seeing them like grains of sand this week. Grains of sand. 5 points for you, Roo.
5 points.
Oh, shit. So there's a bit of chat earlier in the show, Roo. A bit of rhetoric going around that you might be the next Blues coach. So this might be a chance to give us 30 seconds of your best to rev up the boys for next week.
It's been a long time coming, boys. The origin story over the last few years, it's been hard to get out of the bed in the morning, I'm not going to lie. It has been brutal to look ourselves in the mirror, but I look at the side we've picked this year and we have picked a tough bunch of hombres who I think can take it to Queensland. They're leaving their best second rowers out. They're picking wingers on the bench. I think the Bush Poet has lost his mind. And I think this is our opportunity to stand and deliver for the battlers of Bondi, for everyone in New South Wales. This is our opportunity to change history. Slater's had a good 2 years, similar to Freddie a couple of years ago. But I can smell a bed shit coming.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Oh, there you go. Nice, Drew.
Nice.
I'm running through brick walls.
I've got chills.
I'm literally got chills right now. Can we have a chill break? Alrighty. That was Face the Music, brought to you by Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. Takes 2 seconds, and you can see what I'm putting on. You can copy my bets. You can also give Hammy a follow. Let's get into a team of the week. At the back, we have Kinney from the Titans, an outstanding performance. At 2, we have Talau. Yes, he played centre, but he was named at 2, so I'm going to put him on the edge there. At 3, Manu. 4, Herbie Farnworth. 5, Kiraz. 6, Burton. 7, Luai. 8, Lenu. 9, Mitch Kenny. 10, Curran, 11 for Feeder, 12 Radley, 13 Keon, 14 Tedesco, 15 Barnett, 16 Paseka, and 17 White. And as I said earlier, Menulog's hungriest player, it was Luai. Use code Luai, L-U-A-I, for free delivery. That was the Bloke Beer Team of the Week. Get in your local, grab a case of Bloke Beer, a beautiful, easy drinking beer. And it's the beer of rugby league. What better beer to have with Origin? Also, it's a beer for blokes that turn up for family, mates, and good times. Let's get straight into it. The Bulldogs defeat the Dargans. And Jacob Kiraz is our LDV T60 Power Player of the Week with his powerful performance against the Dragons. He had 2 tries, 3 line breaks, 6 tackle breaks, and he ran for 259 metres. The LDV T60 has 160 kilowatts of grunt, which makes it one of the most powerful utes in his class. Auto from 38990 drive away for ABN holders. 7-year or 200,000 kilometre warranty, whichever occurs first. At that price, why go second hand when you can have a brand new LDV? Let's get into it, shall we? The Doggies putting the Dargans to the absolute sword. Yes, I know the Dargans had a few injuries here and there. And I know that things, look, Bird goes off, Eisenhuth with the missed tackles, and, a lot didn't go their way. But I said this on the Friday show, pucker up, boys, and I'll say it again. If the Panthers went out and beat the Dargans 44-12, we'd all be sitting there going, that's a good win. That's what we expect the Dargans to get beaten by the Penrith Panthers. And so people that are trying to go, it was only the Dragons, who cares? Well, first of all, it's the Dargans. And second of all, the Bulldogs just scored 44 friggin' rugby league points. They're also not a top 8 side right now. They're slowly building into it. This is a fantastic win from the Doggies. It's a real statement game, and it shows you how far the Bulldogs have come, because last year, I can't recall, maybe there was a game they got close to scoring 44 points, but I don't recall many games where they got close to scoring 44 points. Toby Sexton, Sex God Sexton, has come in and absolutely killed it. This was a fantastic performance by the Bulldogs.
Yeah, obviously, I think the sim bins and injuries to the Dragons had an impact on them, but I think the Bulldogs scored 40 points in 35 minutes. They were just incredible. Toby Sexton obviously had a huge impact, which was really good. I'll tell you who else I thought was fantastic. That Bailey Hayward. Outstanding. I know Sexton played well, but watching him and the way that he plays, I'd start to consider him as the halfback. I really would. I know he's played a bit of lock and stuff, but I don't know. There's something about him I just absolutely love. And when we watched him in the trials this year,
a lot of Dearden areas for me.
Mate, a lot of Dearden about him. I'd be seriously considering that, but I don't think you can possibly take that jersey off Sexton off the back of that performance.
I'd be building him into next year.
Fair. Yeah.
I'd keep him in my side at the 14 probably.
Yep.
I'd have to go over the bench in that. But I agree with you, mate. We spoke about it in the preseason trial. He does have just something about him. You can't really pinpoint it. The stats aren't going to show it. But he has leadership qualities about the way he plays.
It looks like he's got a very high footy IQ. It wouldn't shock me if at some point this year, if there's an early injury to a halfback in the game for Canterbury and he jumps in there, I could see him holding on to that jersey. I really could.
He also looks like former Bulldogs number 7 legend Chris Keating, so that's got to go.
That's a big
That's
win.
got to play into the argument.
Dead ringer.
Dead ringer. I can't believe I haven't seen more of it. I'm like, they're the same person.
Looks a bit like you, to be honest.
Good sort.
Who doesn't?
No, I agree, mate. There's just something about his. I always, whenever I watch a young half coming in, one of the biggest key indicators I look at is how much time does it look like they have with the ball? Do they look like they just have more time than other players? And with him, that's what I kind of see. Now, is it, at the tippity top just yet? No. But it's this calm and like time can be measured in like many ways in regards to like when the reason why he has time isn't just some nebulous kind of like, it just feels like he does. It's all about tempo. Joey talks about it all the time about different halves knowing the right tempo when they get the ball in hands. Do you hit the line fast? Do you take the pace off a little bit? And I look at him and I say, when I'm watching him play as a rookie, I'm not stressed out with his hands on the ball. And that's a great sign for the Doggies.
Without getting us sidetracked and going to another game, but it is timely opportunity to bring it up. You talk about timing and the way Joey always speaks about the time that a halfback has. Isaiah Katoa on the weekend.
So good.
I feel like I almost haven't seen that in a halfback since bloody Joey Johns. The way he slows down a game to his speed.
It's so good.
It's remarkable.
He's like 20 years old. What do you got there, me?
I was just looking through the stats to see the last time the Doggies scored 40. Put it this way, I'm up to 2021 and I haven't got there yet. I haven't seen it yet. But do you just remember in 2021, they went 3 games in a row not even scoring a point. So that's how far they've come.
That's crazy. That is actually crazy. And look, the injuries, I can be like, okay, yeah, the Dragons had injuries or whatever. But the sin bins, I'm like, well, they brought that on themselves.
Kevy, you frequently remind Bulldogs fans to stay patient. That is what they did in this game.
Yeah.
They were down 12-6 at the half, but you thought, no, they're right in this game. They didn't go away from their structures, from their game plan. They just waited and sure, there were injuries to the Dragons. That happens every week in the NRL. There was a sin bin. That was frustration from Zach Lomax, and they forced it due to just building relentless pressure and sticking to their guns. I think you might have mentioned a week or two ago the word professionalism with the Bulldogs and the way they're playing at the moment. It was a very professional performance, and they did just that. They stayed patient, stuck to their guns, and the game opened up for them.
Yeah, and I think that the key was in the first 20 minutes, not much was going their way. A bunch of penalties. I think the penalty count was like a 4-0. Very easy to just lose your head in that situation, start chasing points and get frustrated. And ironically, the team that got frustrated was actually the Dragons. And, mate, they stayed extremely patient and just stuck to their processes. And what I'm seeing with the Bulldogs now is a real confidence. Like, sometimes you look like you could have the same team on paper, but 12 months younger, so like 12 months last year, but they don't have the same confidence in their ability to win matches. I'm looking at this Bulldog side now. This is a confident team that really believes if we hang in matches, we might get the job done. I mean, all you got to do is look at the Penrith game. They lost 16-10. They were down by it was like 16-0 or whatever it was, but they just hung in there. And they got to a point where the game was actually close. And that's a confidence in your ability to score points and get back in matches if you need to.
Geez, I thought Stephen Crichton had some classy moments in this game.
Yeah, he was in my team of the week initially until Herbie.
I had him till Herbie as well.
Yeah.
He was, knowing that Origin's around the corner and Critter had a game like that, I absolutely love to see it. And
the question for me, boys, is looking at the Doggies pack that we all had so many concerns with coming into the year, just about their size, their lack of class and big name players. Viliami Kikau being the big name there, but it's a small pack. And I sort of alluded to it a little bit during the Origin chat before with the Blues, but, are we seeing the evolution of a smaller pack in the game and these more agile, more mobile forwards? Because you look at it and they've got like Josh Curran there, who was the best forward in the field in this game.
His second stint was one of the best stints all year long.
It was incredible. And you just look at it and go, there's not much size about their pack. There are a lot of players who, whether it's starters or in their rotation, that struggle to get a run at certain clubs in the NRL, like namely the Roosters, who are stacked. But they're putting it to every team in the comp. The Panthers, the best pack in the competition, put it to them a few weeks ago. and they don't look outclassed, outsized, anything. Are we seeing the evolution of a smaller pack in the NRL?
I do think so. I do think so. Now, you'll have, outliers, like you look at the Broncos pack that are this, athletic, big.
Kind of freaks with Carrigan.
Yeah, and so, that's a little bit different. But I do think the game, the ruck speed has changed so substantially. Like, the ruck speed compared to, 2014, it is, not even, the way the game got bogged down with wrestle, I reckon if we went back and watched some of those games now, you'd be going, this is so slow, so slow. So I do think there is an argument to be made, not necessarily about size, but speed of the ruck. So you can still be a big boy.
You can do both.
But you need to have good speed in the ruck. Otherwise, you're just going to get left behind.
You compare it to, fierce rivals of the Dogs in the Parramatta Eels, and I look at guys like Junior Borlo, Regan Campbell, Gillard, Joe Offengowie, all of whom are quite recent State of Origin players. Unsighted, really, even in selection talks. I mean, the Eels boys to a lesser degree, but Parrot, who have really struggled this year, really big pack, not the most mobile pack we've probably seen, and they're battling big time. Now, there's more going on at Parrot, and that's just one example, but I think there's some substance in that.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. I think it's... you look at Leota and Fisher Harris, granted, they're big boys, but they actually don't bend the line that much. They can if they choose to, but they're explosive. Their first 10 metres is super explosive. And I think that line speed is just a different game. If you can't keep up with a really fast, ruck... put it this way, I think there's a lot of big boppers that were great from 2005 or 2006 till 2019 that just probably wouldn't fit in today's game because it's too fast.
And Leota and Fisher Harris, they're also not big minute starting props.
No,
They play their 40 to 45 and that's their job. They're not big boys that are asked to go 55 each week. Again, Payne Haas is such an exception to this rule.
Yep.
But, yeah.
And also with Fisher Harris and Leota, I think in the old game they probably could go 60 to 7 minutes. But because the speed is so quick now, you can't have them on for that long.
And Ivan identifies that and he's he doesn't want to.
Well, you look at the grand final. They're on the field, Penrith are dominating. They get taken off the field, Broncos blow them off the park. They get brought back on the field, they win a grand final.
Isn't it crazy, we're complimenting this Canterbury forward pack when Jacob Preston isn't even getting in the starting side.
Crazy.
And he was their only forward.
He's a player of the year last year.
Yeah. And I mean, he'll start this week. I believe Viliami Kikau's out for 4 to 6 weeks. I think I read before we jumped on here today.
No
way. I saw that. Yeah.
Oh my God. Just when they start to get a bit of... But you know what? I know what you're about to say. I'll let you say it.
It should be a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
But now you go, okay, Preston comes into the side.
I've got confidence that they'll sort it out. Yeah. Whereas last
exactly.
year I'm going, mate, fucking put a line through them, book your
100%.
holidays for the week, the end of the year.
Factor two, there were jokes made about it, but all the utilities in their side at the start, you got too many utilities, not enough specialist position players. They can cover everything.
I'll tell you what else really impressed me on the weekend. They did that without Kurt Mann. He got ruled out, didn't he?
Yeah.
Fuck, I reckon he'd been their best player over the last month.
He's been
Been
outstanding.
playing incredibly.
This is their fullback, and I say this from a guy that has only played 40 NRL games. So these guys are better players than me. This is purely from an analytical perspective. Max King probably wouldn't make many starting sides in the top 8. Then you've got Reid Marnie, obviously gun. You've got Sam Hughes, definitely wouldn't make a lot of the top 8 side squads. You've got kick out gun, Salmon, probably lucky to be a utility in a lot of these top tier sides. Bailey Haywood playing 13 for a bit there. Another guy that he's a rookie, probably wouldn't make a lot of the top tier sides. Then you got Josh Curran, who was kind of on the bench at the Warriors, did get dropped once or twice, but was essentially on the bench. We're talking about a forward pack that, on paper, shouldn't be doing what they're doing. Even compared to the Dragons forward pack. You got Molo, who was in the Origin contention just last year. Sele, solid. Eisenhuth, hasn't been great before this year. Sewer, Origin. DeBellin, also Origin. There's even an argument to be made that this Dragons pack is better on paper than the Bulldogs one.
I had Winston Neville, Kemby, who's a fucking Bulldogs absolute super fan in the studio at the start of the season, and I remember he spoke about a lot about the defensive structure that Serraldo is trying to put in there and what he's building. And I remember in the preseason he got absolutely pizzled by fans in the comment section from that. We're now at round 12. There's only 2 teams that have conceded less than 200 points this season: Penrith and Canterbury.
It's crazy. So they're actually, when it comes to defence, they are right now, I think they're so doggies, apologies for this, points against. So they got 191. Panthers 156. Even the Sharkies, I know they got pumped, are at 200. They have, as you just said, the second best defense in the NRL right now, points-wise. That is actually insane. When you look at that squad on paper, it's actually insane.
Yeah, and you look at the injuries they've had too. Like they haven't had a heap go their way. You think about the amount of times in games they've had front row. You know, they're already short in the pack. They've had front rowers get HIAs in the opening 8 seconds. It's been
I tell you what it does do. It really makes you look at some of these guys like the Roosters, the Broncos, the Knights to a lesser degree, and go, in no world should you have more points scored against you than the Bulldogs. Like with the rosters you have, they should not even be close to you guys when it comes to points against.
Well, mate, if you like the team that stands out for me, Canterbury are in 10th. They've conceded 191. The Cowboys are in 11th. They've conceded 315.
Jeez, it's so exciting because you can build so much off good defense like that.
Yeah, and isn't it great to see Canterbury like not only doing well, but doing well, being a tough fucking footy side?
Yeah,
Canterbury is
dogs of war kind of stuff. Thoughts on the doggies, mate?
Yeah, I mean, they were good. A bit of a grind in the first half, but second half was very, very, very good. I mean, you've touched on a few of their forwards, who I thought were pretty good. Curran, very good. He continues to go from stretch. Matt King as well. They both ran about 170 metres. They look really impressive. They're just building week on week. If you just touched on how much better their defence has improved as well. They're banging on the door of the top 8. Like they actually could. They feel like a team. They could squeeze their way in there. You're getting 375 for the Dogs to make the 8. You know, we're over a third of the way through the season. We've seen a fair bit, so a bit of value around them, but they're looking pretty good.
Just quick shout out, Jacob Kiraz. Yes, rough around the edges. I think sometimes he works too hard and he has the errors and some misreads in defences. But if he keeps just honing his game, mate, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in a Blues jersey in the next few years.
he's just made a ticker, isn't he?
I seriously would not be surprised. And if you had said that to me even just 12 months ago, I would have said, I don't think he has the ability to be in that conversation yet. This year, as I said, a few rough areas in his game, a few key areas that he needs to clean up. But, mate, if he cleans that up, I think he will be in contention over the next few years.
You add to that, he's on the right edge of the Doggies, which sees a lot less attacking ball. Like the large majority of the Dogs' attacking ball goes down the left edge where Fox is. If Kiraz is on the left edge, he's probably doubled his try tally this year as well.
And I'll tell you another crazy stat. So I think it was Rando that put this up just this morning. Oh, my God, not getting up now. He statistically is actually having a better year than Lomax right now.
He's unreal.
Yeah.
That's insane. So statistically, he is... So Lomax has played 11 games, scored 7 tries, has 5 line breaks. He is 183 metres, and so that's Lomax's stats. 11 games, 7 tries, 5 line breaks, 183 metres. This is Kiraz. 11 games, 6 tries, so Lomax 1 more. 11 line breaks compared to Lomax's 5. 192 metres compared to 183 of Lomax. Now, I would still have Lomax ahead of him at this stage because I do think there is X factor that Lomax carries that Kiraz doesn't have yet, but he could eventually have. But that just shows you how underrated his year has been. If he can clean those errors up, there is no reason why Kiraz can't play for the Blues 1 year. There's no reason.
For sure, mate. And quickly, last shout out to my first ever favourite player in the NRL, Rocket Rod Silver. Did the acknowledgement of country for Indigenous round for this game.
Yep.
Doggy's absolute legend of the game. Roo, who's the player who made you fall in love with rugby league as a young Roo?
Freddie for me, straight away.
Freddie Fittler.
What about you?
Me, actually didn't enjoy rugby league growing up. Didn't even watch it. I couldn't tell you anything about rugby league growing up. I didn't even know the numbers of what they were on the field.
Kempy started playing, watched his own highlights, went, I love this game.
Jeez, this guy's good. Then it crashed and burned.
Who'd be yours, mate?
Taniela Tuaki.
Oh, yes.
Just every time he got it, just shot putting blokes off.
Man in the mirror stuff.
Very. I modelled my own game on him. For sure.
Matty?
It's crazy you say that, Timmy. My favourite was actually Nathan Merritt, who was also part of a pre-match thing this round.
How good's that?
Pretty weird time.
Oh, just quickly, let's put it on the record. Best ever jerseys for Indigenous round we've ever seen.
Yeah, it was a knockout victory this year.
Mate, the Rabbitohs Indigenous jersey was so friggin' good, like so good. The The Broncos was amazing. The Cowboys was amazing.
Across the board, they were great. I thought the Warriors were so cool as
the
well.
Warriors.
I thought they were brilliant.
Yeah.
Big fan of the Chooks one. I thought that was elite.
The fact that you can get this many different answers shows you how strong it was this year. So friggin' sick. Okay, anyway, so doggies, stay patient still, but the patience is paying off. It is slowly paying off. Okay, Dragons. The Dragons. Almost be repeating ourselves to a degree, but just consistency. Like their best and worst game is honestly like two different outfits are running out there. Have to speak about it. Eisenhuth, I can only assume he was injured because that is some of the worst defence like I've seen in a very long time.
That was the worst defence from just about their best defender. It was
100%.
insane.
He's been so good this year.
Yeah.
Are you of the same mind? You reckon he was injured?
He must
had
have
to have been.
He had I couldn't believe what I was watching. As I've spoken about him a lot this year. I think he's been one of the value signings of the season. And
we've all been saying he's like arguably the Dragons' best player.
Well, mate, that's what I said a few weeks ago when in that Roosters game where Moses Sully got injured, they had to move him out of the middle, and the middle just went to absolute shit. And that was my biggest fear in this game for the Dragons as soon as he moved out there. But then the way that they targeted him, like they must have been able to tell he was injured. They had to have been.
I cannot believe a guy known for his toughness would defend like that unless he is injured.
Thursday feels like a long, long time ago, but I'm sure. Like I think they might have got him early, caught him out of position when he was at centre. But I thought there was a time where he went down and was clutching his shoulder or something or other.
I think that was a bit later. That he was
later on
his
in
shoulder.
the game.
But just when you watch it, he's there to make the contact, and he doesn't pull out of it. But it's almost like he hits his shoulder and he has no grip strength to actually even. If he's playing this week, I'll be shocked.
Once again, I hate to harp on about it, but I cannot stand when teams move their lock forward to an edge.
I think lock is fast becoming like not the most important position, but arguably the most important position in the forward pack.
Just don't mess with it. I don't like when the Broncos do the same with Pat Carrigan. They do the same with him. It blows me away how many teams. Like South do it with Cam Murray at times. I'm just going, what the fuck is going on?
But it was it's the same thing we just had with that whole Origin bench chat. Why does one player have to go down injured and then you have to send a back rower to centre where, yes, there probably was some injury there from Eisenhuth, but regardless, they scored 4 tries in 22 minutes down that exact corridor through Eisenhuth.
Yeah.
Regardless of injury, someone has to be able to cover that. That's not a forward.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought Sully started the game really well. I thought he really, to be honest, it felt like I was watching a player playing for an Origin spot. Maybe he'd got a phone call or not. I don't think with how many injuries that happened, all that kind of stuff, I actually don't think it's too crazy to suggest that he was in the conversations for Origin. I think Sully's been really good.
He started like a house on fire going up against Crichton, didn't he?
Yeah. Then obviously, fell off a little bit, but I thought, started outstanding. But yeah, so the opening 30 minutes or whatever, Bulldogs were their own worst enemy. Heaps of penalties, all that kind of drop balls, silly offloads. And I spoke about it already on Friday, but just quickly, if you want to see how important just a 7 that can lay certain points on the field and control a set, go and watch their first try again, the Bulldogs. Sexton controlled that whole set. They get to about 5 metres right of the goalpost. They spread it wide to kick out, have a shot, nearly scores to a degree, gets close, it looks dangerous. They then spread it back out wide. Sexton drops a bloke off, lands exactly in the same spot as he did the play before. Then he tees Burton up, puts that little grubber in that was just absolute money, and they score a try. That's a really good example of a 7 that can get you around the park. But in regards to back with the Dragons, in the second half, they only had 29% of the possession.
Wow.
Just completely dominated. But yeah, they just got to work on their consistency. They're just such an inconsistent side. All right, on to the next game. Guys, we'll be moving through these quicker, so please don't get upset. Also, don't forget, KO's got you covered this footy season with every game, every round live and ad break free during play. Some key games this week: Panthers versus the Dragons, exclusive to Fox League, available on KO, and the Dolphins versus Raiders, exclusive to Fox League, available on KO. But you can watch all the games live and ad free, during play on KO. Now to this next game, the Cowboys get the job done against the Tigers. Look, a win's a win. A win's a win. I wasn't overly convinced. I think I would rather the Cowboys win 20-6 than 42-28. There were periods for sure that I felt like the Cowboys looked much better than I had in the past. And then was it the last maybe 20 minutes where they kind of just dropped off, if I recall correctly? We've got to talk about it though. Val Holmes, that's not a hip drop. His feet left the ground before he began the tackle because the player was past him. We have to get rid of this mentality that if a player gets injured, there has to be a penalty. Yes, he landed on the back of his legs because didn't hit him, but also he just landed there because he dove for a tackle. What else do you expect Holmes to do? The only other option he has there is to not tackle him. Like, we are just going way too down the track of if someone gets injured. And look, I know it sucks. Papali'i, he's out for ages. I know it sucks. People get injured in rugby league. We're never going to change that. The more we go down this route of this, like, never get injured. No one's allowed to get injured. As soon as someone does, we got to look for a penalty. Like, the worst it's going to get. That wasn't a hip drop. We have to define clearly what a hip drop is. I thought we all had got a clear definition. 2 or 1 in the tackle where contact or already being made and being held and dropping into the back of their legs. I thought that's a hip drop. Diving for tackles is not a hip drop. I thought it was an outrageous call, and that doesn't even include the fact that Clemmer did a hip drop in the same game. Now, Clemmer's also been suspended, hasn't he?
Yep.
While Val Holmes has been good to play. Like, yes, the Cowboys went on to win that game. They could have lost them the game. It is insane to me.
I thought it was very evident the contact of Tom Dearden played a huge role in that as well.
And also, it wasn't a call on the run. They replayed it. I don't
They
understand.
replayed it while the player was on the ground, which I think the optics just played into that massively.
Imagine playing a game for 25 years of your life and being taught to tackle around the legs as a core element of this game, and then falling on someone's legs, and then that's a sin-binnable offence.
Mental.
They're literally taught to tackle around the legs, and then there's a chance you're going to fall on their legs at some point.
The thing I don't get, what is he supposed to do in that situation? Are we honestly going to push this game so far down that route that we're going to see players literally not tackling someone that's about to score because they're scared of
Because they
getting
can't
pulled
dive
back?
at them from behind to grab their legs.
Is that what we're going to
You're
get
going to
to?
land on the legs.
It's actually insane.
Yeah.
I cannot believe it.
Val's free to play, but he did get charged. He's grade 1 dangerous contact.
Yeah. Dangerous. How is that? Like, what is he supposed to do? He's in midair.
If you slowed every set in the NRL down, you could nearly sin bin someone every set for that.
Like, go back and watch it. He is diving as he grabs him. So he actually doesn't have him grabbed before his feet leave the ground. We are setting such a bad precedent. We have to just accept as a game that players get injured. Like, I don't understand.
Moving on from that sin bin, have you ever learnt less from a game than this?
Oh, man. Jeez. Like, as I said, look, Cowboys can score points. Stop the press.
Yep.
I'm just like, I know it's really hard for Cowboys fans to hear this because you're like, mate, we had this great win. Let's just celebrate it. Yes, there were definitely signs of some improvement there, but I still don't think the Cowboys are out of the deep end at all.
No, they're living in the deep end at the moment. Like at the 15-minute mark when they were up 18-0 or whatever it was, like there was part of me that just sat there and went, fuck, I just don't care. Just keep the Tigers to 0. Keep them to 10.
Yeah.
Stoked with 10. To concede 28 points was just, I don't know. They're just such a
squad like this
frustrating
on
side.
paper, it's just unacceptable.
It is, and that's what, like, they have got such a good squad on paper. It's not even funny. They've got a squad that most teams would kill for out there. And, like, the old saying in rugby league, defence is an attitude, and they just don't have it at the moment. And it doesn't seem to faze them. That's what annoys me the most. And maybe I'm wrong, but...
And what's so surprising is like, they're not soft players either. Like, they're like, when you look at that squad, you don't go, oh, yeah, look, they have a bit of a soft underbelly. Like, it's a tough squad. Individually tough players.
And, they'll be relevant in the NRL because they're so good in attack. But this is a team with the squad they've got right now. Like, I would have thought at the start of this year, they would have gone, fuck, we can win a comp this year.
I thought they'd be where the Sharks are, to be honest. Like, I didn't think they'd be top of the table, but I thought they would be, now granted, obviously, Sharks' performance on the weekend, but I actually had more hope, not more hope, but I thought it more likely the Sharks would be the ones, the Cowboys would be the ones that would press.
You know what? Like I don't need them to be the Panthers. I need you to be a 7 out of 10 defensive side.
Yeah.
And you're a top 8 side automatically.
I think like Scotty Drinkwater kind of typifies what the Cowboys are at the moment, because not really in the Origin conversation, but
he should be.
Statistically, he should be. And like, we know his stats from last year. This year, 12 games, 5 tries, 14 try assists. He's a well beater in attack, but like, there was a defensive effort on Alamalo for his try, and that's the reason why he's not in the Origin conversation, because defensively, and we've said it all season, it's just not there.
Yeah.
And that's the same as the Cowboys.
And the thing that I guess is frustrating with Drinky is I actually felt he worked on that last year and the year before, where he'd worked a lot on his defence. And I feel he's regressed a little bit in defensively.
I would love to be in the video room when they watch that play, just to see what the reaction of the room is like. Because at the same time, like I looked at it and I was sitting with a mate watching the game, and he goes, "I think I'd hook Drinky for that." And I'm like, even if you wanted to, they can't.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
What the fuck are they going to do if they take Drink?
Points without him on the field. Yeah, look, I know there's going to be Cowboys fans that are going to be like, come on, guys, like, we just won. It comes from a place, guys, we want the Cowboys to be a premiership threat. We're not saying because we enjoy the fact that they're looking, so inconsistent. It's from a place of like, this on paper absolutely should be charging for a premiership. Look, let's talk about some positives though for the Cowboys. Some positives are, obviously, they've got Reece Robson into the Origin. They've got Dearden into Origin. Val Holmes is into Origin. Taulungi's into Origin. Nanai's into Origin. Who else have we got into Origin? Cotter is into Origin. So there's positives. The fact that they still have this really good core of players that are in Origin. In regards to individual performances on the weekend, who did you stand out for the Cowboys?
So here's one guy who, he cops plenty of shit because he's not a superstar and whatnot, but Chad Townsend's putting together a good little season.
4 try assists.
4 try assists, 3 line break assists. Never seems to break a sweat, Chad, but he just continues to do a job every week for them.
Well, okay, because this is the thing. Very easy. He's an easy target, Chad Townsend, because if you're a Cowboys fan, you look at your other superstars and you're like, I don't want to lose that player. Like, they're playing Origin, whatever. But like, the 7th job, we would all agree it's more of an attacking job. Like, your job is to get the blokes to around where you need to on the field and score points. I mean, that's what the Cowboys have been doing. You're scoring points.
Yep.
So when you look at Townsend and the job he's trying to deliver for the club, he's actually delivering it. It's the defensive side of things, which isn't really on the 7. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure you could find some video of him missing tackles or whatever, but it's not really on the 7 to have that defensive grit. It's more on the captains, the forward pack. And that's where I look at it and I go, I know I said this last week, but did they move that captaincy too early? Did they move it too early? I don't know.
He's second in the comp for try assists.
Yeah, wow.
Really?
Bloody good, man. It's bloody good.
Chad Townsend is? Wow.
Oh, so good. Okay, Dearden, 178 metres, 5 tackle breaks, line break assist, 25 tackles, 0 misses. Love that. Reece Robson, 50 tackles, 0 misses. And that's why it must be frustrating for guys like Robson, Dearden, and Cotter, because like they bloody work their ass off. Cotter, 44 tackles, 0 misses. So you've got basically Robson, Cotter, so that's 94 tackles, Dearden, 25, so you're looking at 120 tackles without a miss. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
But like,
Other than obviously defense needs to get sorted.
but it's like, that's what's so frustrating. Like, the answer's in front of you. I watched this team play, and like they just seem to refuse to want to bite down on the mouth guard. And
The reason why I say did the leadership get passed on too soon, and I know the Broncos were in a way worse spot. They won the spoon. But at times it does remind me of the Broncos where they don't have that leadership to go, boys, that's not good enough. We do not accept that here. Because Townsend and Taumalolo have essentially been told by the club to take a step back. You are no longer captains. So I wonder whether that's caused a leadership vacuum to a degree where, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like you keep saying accountability for the poor defensive performances and the poor one-on-one misses. They just look on defensively on a different page to each other. And I'm with you. I don't know the solution, Kempy.
Yeah,
like
it's
there's
bizarre.
because it's so poor the defense every week. Like
Yeah. Look, a win's a win. They keep themselves in touch with the top 8. All right, now onto the Tigers. mate, unfortunately, for all their signings, their roster is just, I don't know if a lot of it's up to NRL standard, if I'm being honest.
Missing a few though, plenty out with injury. Obviously the centres were pretty light on, and Val.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like a lot of it. So, for example, your backline at the moment: Staines, Casey, Valetti, Alamolo. Apology if I butchered that. Now, granted, I get they're injured, but even with your full strength backline, it is NRL standard to a degree, but can have a lot of games that aren't NRL standard. So I just think that, look, put it this way, I think it's pretty evident with all these stories coming out with Shade Richardson basically saying, giving permission for Papali'i to leave, then also shopping players around. I think that they're agreeing that this roster needs a complete overhaul. Yeah,
I'm looking at the Tigers as a 24-month project, realistically. I thought that they would improve this year, and I personally think, as much as results might not say it, I think they have improved.
They've definitely improved.
And I think the big one, once you get Aiden Caesar back into this side, I think that he was just, I thought he was playing outstanding footy when he was there. So I'm very keen to see him back into this side. I thought Samuel Fino, he's been a great little find for them.
He's been a great find for him.
I think Isaiah Papali'i got injured on the weekend. I assume he'll miss some footy.
Yeah, I think he's out 4 to 6 weeks minimum.
Yeah, okay. Bateman due back soon.
Bato's out for a while, I think.
Oh, he's still got a while.
Yeah.
Did he tear his pec or something?
Pec maybe, yeah. It was 6 to 8 or even a bit longer.
Yeah, forward pack, their main guys, definitely NRL standard, absolutely, good. But I just look at their outside backs and I'm just, for example, full strength, what's the back line for them? Stafford Toa,
Olam.
Charlie Staines.
Yep, Staines on wing.
Junior Tupou.
Yep, that'll be it.
I just think when you compare that to some other back lines, I don't know, I think they're pretty desperate to get some outside backs in.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Turuva coming next year helps.
Yep.
Probably need one more, maybe in the centres there to just shore it up, but not a million miles away. But
Lose Junior Tupou, though.
Yeah, yep.
Defensively adding Turuva and Luai to this will really strengthen the edge defence.
Yep. I do think, there's been reports that Sullivan has been shopped around. So it seems like, and again, this is not confirmed, but it seems like they've gone pretty heavily in the direction of, they believe Galvin and Luai will be their halves partner. So it would suggest that Luai will be a 7 next year.
Yep.
And that's something to look forward to. Like, after what we've seen particularly on the weekend, but recent weeks with Luai, and what we may hopefully be about to see in Origin if he does end up taking that number 7 role.
Well, the thing as well with Luai, he will hold players accountable. You see him on the field, telling blokes, not good enough. Absolutely not good enough.
Luai and Galvin combo, even in this one, Galvin, 18 years old, 199 run meters. He had a couple of tries, he's 19 runs. I do think the NRL.com running stats, I've said it often, but are very skewed. But he takes the line on. He has a big role in attack every week at 18 years old.
Mate, he is so exciting.
Him next to 28 tackles, 2 misses. Him with a year under his belt next to an experienced player like Luai.
He had
a really good.
He had a try-saving tackle on the weekend as well. He was always there supporting as well.
Yeah. He's a ripper.
He is a genuine It might be the most positive thing of your whole season is the unearthing of Galvin.
By far and away, it's the biggest positive. And, mate, you even have a look over the last 4 weeks. I know they haven't won a game, but they got beat by 8 against the Bulldogs, a team that's playing fucking tough footy at the moment. Got beat by 6 by the Knights, who I think they've won 4 games in a row. Got beat 1-12 Dolphins. I just feel like I watch games of the Tigers and they're not getting W's, but I just think last year they would have got blown off the park by some of these sides.
If you'd backed them with the start most weeks, you would have come away as a winner. They've been losing, but it's been close. They've been getting hammered most weeks.
So that's where I go, if you just had a few more, recruited a couple more people, you get those wins. And that sounds obviously, I think we all agree, that's the direction the club's trying to head in.
Yeah.
What I really liked about their performance is the fight they showed. The game looked dead and buried, and they did really fight. And obviously, Galvin. But I do think as a squad, their outside backs, they absolutely need some recruitment done there and just some depth. Just some depth there.
Hey, a late Alex Twile try was a great morale booster, though. Particularly if you had him plus 14.5.
40 tackles, 0 misses from the great 12.
Mate,
so, look.
Get around him.
Definitely you don't want that many points put on you, but what can you do? The Tigers are in a very early stage of a rebuild. Like, genuinely, there's an argument to be made. This is the first year of the rebuild. So, yeah, is what it is. Okay, on to the next game. Manly defeat the Storm 26-20. To be honest, I thought Seabold summed this up perfectly. A win's a win, doesn't matter how pretty it is. And I think that the Sea Eagles desperately needed this. It wasn't pretty. By any stretch, the Storm didn't play well, but a win's a win. They got it done. And to be honest, I think they showed a lot of grit at times. I think that the question around Manly has been similar-ish to the Cowboys, but the difference between the Cowboys and Manly is I feel like Manly have answered that question a couple times this year, where I haven't really watched a game where the Cowboys have answered that question. And so I just think it's a really important win for Manly to get a bit of confidence. That's 2 weeks in a row. Yes, it was 20 points put on, but it is 2 weeks in a row of showing grit. And look, you go against the Broncos and Storm, and maybe the Broncos aren't as good as, where you would have thought they were this year, but you lose by 1 point at home to the Broncos, as in you were at Suncorp, and then to beat the Storm by 6 points, I think you should be pretty happy with that as a Manly fan.
I'm still trying to work out Manly if I think they are the real deal or not.
At this stage, I don't think they are.
I don't think they are, but I mean, they do just keep on producing good performances like this. It wasn't just a weird game of footy, like 26-20 Manly Seagulls v Melbourne Storm. Like normally you'd expect that to be an absolute cracker.
Yeah.
But this, I don't know, it's just a bit of a weird game of footy. But I mean, the Melbourne Storm are still a side that they just refuse to beat themselves, and Manly found a way, so credit to them.
Yeah. What do you continue?
I was probably more impressed with Manly than Siebes was, I think. I thought they were pretty impressive against the Melbourne Storm side who, granted missing some key players, but I think their entire forward pack were there. Had Jerome Hughes back, Fa'alonga at fullback who's a star, so it was still a damn good footy team that they beat. And they said coming off that gut bust against the Broncos the week before, I think the first 50 minutes, I thought they were excellent. They controlled territory well. They completed 75% for the game, so not too bad. Want a little bit higher, but not terrible. And I thought, the signs were pretty good. They had Tolotau Kohler as a late-ish out as well, so had a debutant in another Hopewadi come in. I thought they played some pretty good footy against a very good footy team, and I think they can take a lot out of it.
Yeah, I just love the grit about it. I'm not convinced yet that they're going to be a threat in finals footy. But as I said, the difference between them and the Cowboys is when they've been asked, like, we need you to show some grit, they've shown it. They've absolutely shown it. So, a Manly side without Tom Trbojevic making the 8, I think you'd all say pretty, satisfactory year. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible either. And that's kind of the trajectory I'd say they're on right now, is to probably finish in the 8. I don't know if they'd do much damage in the finals, but as I said, these last 2 weeks, the question has been asked of them, we need you to be gritty and tough, and I think they've absolutely shown that.
Shout out to Lehigh Hopewadi. I thought that was a really impressive debut. He was good. We were saying before as we were getting coffee, Kempy, you look at Will Hopewadi, he's been retired for 2 years now. Lehigh's just making his debut. We could be 40, 50 years away from the NRL without a Hopewadi in it.
It's fucking mental.
It's unbelievable.
It's just that genetics is unbeaten.
There's nothing even close to it, is there? The genetics?
I don't think so.
So good. Really good thing for Manly too. Their first 9 from 9 sets completed. And so I love to see that. It shows a committed side. And so that's one thing in their favour, that you can look at some of these other sides and go, when they've been asked to respond, they do respond. 9 from 9 sets. Melbourne didn't play that well, but they got the job done. And that's what you'd be asking of a Manly side. In regards to performances, obviously, DCE, seriously, his ability to just control games and just somehow wrangle things back in his favour. You can watch the Manly play and you're like, oh, look, Manly didn't have the best set just then. And then DC will just do the perfect decision, whether it's running the ball on the 5th or kicking it or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, momentum's back in their favour. I wish there was a stat of momentum swingers, because I feel like DCE would win it.
Just smart. So you set one up for the Tommy Talau try, who just flew from blindside to open, created an extra number, and just went. They slowed it down and had a look at it. It was brilliant.
Yeah, he's just so good.
So smart.
He's such a good example of that halfback position being a thinking man's position, because the more knowledge he gets year on year on year, he just knows what to do whenever the moment calls for it.
That's what I love about Ches, and he doesn't do it all that much. I think he only did it 3 times in this game. But when you see him push the dummy half out of the way and he just goes, no, I need the fucking ball now.
Yeah.
I need it instantly. You just know, like and as you just said, Kemby, like he has just seen it all now, Cherry Evans.
Yeah,
like
seen it all.
Seen it all. But, mate, I also feel like, and once again, I don't know if the stats back it up, but he just seems to run like a maniac all game. He must be so fit, Cherry Evans.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to have the longevity he's had, you can't without being a really fit, like taking care of your body the way he has.
How old's Ches? Was he 34, 35?
Yeah, he's getting up
4
there.
or 5.
Mate, but like you watch him, he looks like a 28-year-old.
I know, it's crazy. It's actually crazy.
35.
35.
It's crazy.
He's not hiding away from defence anywhere or anything like that. Like,
speaking of defence, the try saver on Fa'alongo, basically try saver from Vanga, in the dying moments of the game where he whipped out the back, Fa'alongo looked like he'd spliced through, and Vanga just somehow, some way got his legs. Like, that saved them. Like, that was a crazy play by the winger. It was a match-winning play.
Well, he was there again right at the end. He cleaned it up in the in goal and he ran it out as well.
Yeah.
So when it counted, he was there.
Another guy though, and we've been singing his praises even in the preseason, Tommy Talau. Again, we've spoken about it so many times, but coming through the grades, this guy was the guy. Like, ironically, Tigers could really use him. Sorry, bro.
Uncalled for.
But I think Tommy Talau, he's hit the ground running. He looks confident. He looks the fittest I've ever seen him look. And I really think that we're only seeing the surface of what he can do. I think that the more confident he gets, the more runs on the board he gets, the better he's going to be. Obviously scored 2 tries, 2 line breaks, 5 tackle breaks, 14 tackles, 0 misses, obviously in the centres. And we saw last week, I thought he had an outstanding game against the Broncos, just a few last passes that didn't find the mark. But I think Tommy Talau, and that's the thing, like, yes, you can look at Seabold and you go, that Schuster re-signing was like an absolute Barry Crocker. But so far, Brown, Talau and Brooks have been phenomenal. And so Manly deserve credit for going and signing 3 blokes that, I don't think they would have struggled to find a club maybe a bit extreme, but definitely weren't knocking the door down with a bunch of clubs after them.
Yeah.
You've got to give them raps for signing those 3 blokes and also getting the best out of them. I think Brooks has been great as well.
Yeah, he's been good, Brooksy.
Like, such a good point of difference for Manly when Brooks isn't there to shut Manly down, you shut DCE down, whereas sometimes Brooks opens them up.
I'm keen to see Manly over the next few weeks with Ches obviously playing Origin. I'm keen to see how Brooks goes leading the side.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And no Tommy Turbo either, so he becomes the man for them.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even think of that. Back in that 7 jersey, you reckon? And what, Humphreys probably come in?
I reckon they'll pick Jakey Arthur.
Yeah, round 16 and round 19 those Manly play, which are Origin 2 and Origin 3 weeks. So yeah, there'll be no Ches. So it'll be the Brooks show.
Massive raps to Olakawatu getting selected. So happy for him. He's been ripping and tearing for a few years, and he even came out, I think, and said like it actually rattled him a little bit around Origin being in contention, that kind of stuff. What I love about this performance from him is not necessarily crazy good in attack, but in defence, 29 tackles, 0 misses. So when the game isn't really going his way and he's not getting the best ball or whatever, he does the other side of the game where he does his job really well. There's actually one tackle I remember that was a bloody good bell ringer and also stopped momentum of the Storm. Paseka, I thought he was outstanding. 87 post contact, 161 metres. So, as I said, they're not necessarily setting the world alight, but sometimes you just need to keep yourself in position to strike if you can. And that's what Manly are doing that are better than a lot of other teams in the same position that have lost key players and are injured. They're just keeping themselves in touch with, if things do click for them, they can take advantage of that and push into that top 6, top 4.
And on top of it, Campy, the question's how are they going to go without Tom Trbojevic? Well, they nearly beat Brisbane at Suncorp, and then they've just beaten Melbourne at Brookie, so what a start for them.
Yep, absolutely. So, and look, what a boon for the club. Both players coming out of the club that are captains for both states. That's bloody important.
Yep.
That's a good sign for a club. Not necessarily have the most resources, doesn't have the biggest junior base. I'm sure Manly fans, because I think they're coming 9th at the moment, I'm sure Manly fans would be sitting there going, oh man, we started with so much, like a boom kind of thing. But there are, if you want to look for them, you can find positives at Manly.
Yeah, and we say they're not title contenders, and I agree at the moment they're not. But you know what, if they can scrape away at wins between now and when Turbo comes back, hopefully Turbo comes back and stays fit and can explode come finals time if they finish in that 5 to 8, who knows?
Absolutely, who knows? And similar to the Broncos situation, who were terrible on the weekend, like their goal at the moment, Manly, is to stay as close in touch with that kind of top 6 until Tommy comes back.
Yeah.
And if they do, that's job well done, in my opinion, with the current roster they have.
Put it this way, mate, like when I look at any of these teams, I still have Penrith as clear number ones to win the comp.
Honestly, not even close.
Yeah, but outside of them, it's like, well, why can't Manly beat anyone else in the comp come finals
They
time?
literally nearly beat Broncos in Magic Round, lost by a single point.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago, only a few weeks. I know a few things went their way, but they did knock over Penrith. Who,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
missing
beat
players, but they're
Roosters.
still fucking
Pretty
hard to beat
comfortably as well.
regardless.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beat Roosters as well.
Yep.
And also, look how they backed up off a tough, grindy game against Broncos. And look how Broncos backed up. So when you want to look for it, there are things to like at Manly. Okay, now on to the Storm. Bit of a weird one for me with the Storm. Like, I didn't think they played well. They uncharacteristic errors, like 3 errors to start the game. They're missing key players, obviously, but so is Manly. So Manly obviously missing Kula. They're missing Travojevic. Croker didn't play?
He
Lawson.
didn't play. He's been out for a few weeks.
been out
Yeah,
for a while.
so it's not a head knock. It ended up being throat or neck or something. It was a neck issue because he had failed HIA in a game, and then 1 week became 2, came 3, and they came out and said it wasn't just the head knock there. He had a neck or something issue. So hopefully not much longer, but yeah, the last 3 weeks has all been without their starting 9.
And so I don't think Manly get enough credit for the fact that they've got these key guys out. Like, obviously we speak a lot about Tommy, but Croker is not just as important, but he's a fucking spine member. Like, it's an important
Big minute
position.
spine member.
Big minute.
Well, I mean, like if Kohler was fit, he would have been their fullback too. So another spine member.
Yeah,
they had to replace.
absolutely. Okay. But the key for me that I thought was like, this is what shocked me the most with this performance for Storm. 30 minutes in, and all top 5 players in the VB hard-earned index were Manly players. And I can't remember the last time I saw the Melbourne Storm get outworked. I cannot remember the last time. That's the biggest concern for me with Melbourne Storm, is that we're seeing things that are un-Melbourne Storm-like, being outworked, out-enthused. Yes, it's just one game, so, granted, I'm not saying that they're not premiership threats anymore, but it is a concerning factor when that is what the club has been built on, is outworking their opponents. So I think it was a disappointing game for the Melbourne Storm. Unfortunately, I thought Meaney had probably one of his worst games in a Storm jersey, especially defensively.
The right edge defensive, the Storm, has been a concern all year for them, and I think it was really exposed in this one. Meaney a couple of times again, statistically speaking, 47% of the Storm's tries they're conceding down the right compared to 29 on the left edge, and a lot of it has been through. Meaney's not the only one, don't get me wrong, but
Warbrick also tendency to make a wrong call.
Yeah, and teams just going at that edge and having a lot of success.
Warbrick obviously got injured in this one. I wonder if when Pappy returns, if maybe that opens the door for Falonga.
Falonga on the wing.
I think it does.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, before Pappy got injured, Falonga played a game on the wing where he scored that mad try off the scrum. And I think that was a game where Coates, I believe, was out. So I reckon he's the next in line on the wing.
I think Falonga as well, when you go back and you have a look at when Pappy made his return last year and he was playing for the Falcons, Falonga moved to the wing and still played at a very high click. So
Yeah, I think he has a talent to play on the wing. I do think, there's a reason why they have 2 big wingers. And I just wonder, do they lose meterage out of their own end, big bodies scooting?
but I think when you look at the rest of the squad, they're going to lose that anyway. I reckon might as well take a punt on some X factor.
Falonga.
I think it's going to be Grant Anderson if not, and
Yeah.
I'd rather roll the dice on Falonga personally.
I would too. As I said, my only concern is, okay, so coming out of your own end, you got Pappy at the back, who not a meter eater. You've got Coates, meter eater, but not crazy either. Like, Coates isn't
Not
necessarily
among the best wingers in the game.
Exactly.
Sort of thing. He's not known for his running 200 metres a
Then you
game
got
sort of thing.
Meaney, not necessarily a meter eater. Remus Smith, who can take a tough carry here or there, and I just wonder. Yeah, it's going to be hard to find where they get their meters from. In saying that, who cares about meters if you bloody have 3 line breaks, and that's maybe what Fa'alonga can give you. I guess we'll see.
Just on Fa'alonga, you can see Billy Slater's influence in his game so clearly. So Billy Slater down there not acting as, like he's a fullback coach for them and mentoring him, which is frightening for the opposition. But like you see the way he attacks bombs, like defensively, and how deep he gets and steams onto it, gets up, so turns a bit in the air. It's like it's a clone of Billy, and you can see the blueprint of what Billy does there. This is going to stand him in the best stead, having one of the best fullbacks of all time, coaching him. You can see it.
Yeah. Just quickly, I forgot to say, Brooks, so last week, the Broncos on DCE hit that outline with Piacora and Madden. And so I don't know whether they copied it, but maybe they did, because Brooks did the exact same thing on, was it Hughes? Or was it whoever it was, that overs line with the back rower, and you can see the Storm guys shooting out of the line. I just thought that was a nice little touch.
And then Trbojevic slid through. Was it that
slid
line?
through.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's great footy. Like, if you've got defences that jam in, if you just hit that overs line, very hard to defend it, especially one-on-one. I also like, just quickly, Nathan Brown, 7 minutes 50 to go. He tries to shot Nelson Asofa-Lamona. He gets absolutely steamrolled. But I love that from Nathan Brown. Like, he's just trying to put a shot off on the biggest dude arguably ever play the game.
How good was that moment where Nathan Brown and Sean Bloor met each other? Last time.
Oh, yes. They got history too.
They went at each other.
Yep.
I love that.
Some positive is I still think Katoa had a relatively good game. But yeah, I think the Melbourne Storm, I still think come finals time they're going to go to a new level. But there are quite a few things that they need to tweak and work on in my opinion.
If you would have said to me in the preseason that the Melbourne Storm, their forward pack, one player ran over 100 metres, I would have sort of thought, okay, they probably got dished in that game to hang in it. Only lose by 6 against Manly at Brookvale. I know they didn't play their best footy, but I still think there is just that sign that they are just a gritty footy side that will hang in games.
They'll always be a gritty footy side. I hated the fact they were getting outworked though in that first half. But probably being a bit nitpicky. They're still there or thereabouts. I mean, it's the bloody Melbourne Storm. They can come third, and that's a bad season for them because they're still sitting third at the moment. And it's similar-ish to, like, probably a tier above, but similar to Manly. As long as you just stay in touch with that top four, the Storm, with players like Munster, Pappy, Grant, Hughes. How important is Hughes to this side now?
Yep.
Far out. Like, Munster is the superstar, and Pappy's superstar, Grant as well. But Jerome Hughes is like, there's an argument to be made he's the most important in that spine. That's how good he is. Yeah,
he's just evolved his ability to get the team in a park, his game management. It's come on leaps and bounds. Just as a bloke who was a fullback, going into the halves,
incredible.
As an out number 7, he's been great.
Now, don't forget, guys, winter bloke drop tonight, 6 p.m. We got hoodies, as you can see us wearing right now. If you can't see us and you're listening to us, go to Instagram to see them. We've got maroon, we've got the blue ones, got the shorts, the shirts, limited supply. Once they're gone, they're gone. Really high quality material, guys. Really, really well cut. The hoodies are $89.95, the shorts are $45, and the shirts are $55. If the hoodies are made to be a little bit oversized, so if you're normally a large, go down one size to a medium or an XL or whatever. The shirts and the shorts, though, are normal sizing. So, for example, me, I'm a large in the shirts and the shorts, but I've gone down to a medium in the jumper because I like my jumpers a little bit more fitted. But if you like them to be a bit looser as hoodies, just go the normal size. All right, now, on to Roosters versus the Raiders. Was it as explosive as the Roosters have been, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? Probably not. But in saying that, this was a clinical, professional performance by the Roosters, in my opinion. And funnily enough, I feel like Trent Robinson, it did seem when you looked at his rotation that he could almost feel the game. Win is a hard word, but there was an opportunity to get some minutes into some of his bench. And you looked at Spencer Lenu, ended up 38 minutes on the field. I think the week before he was much less. White playing at 13 for 68 minutes. And Terrell May getting 38 minutes also. And I think that their bench was absolutely outstanding, the Roosters.
I think sorry, mate. I was just going to say, I think the beauty of having depth in a pack is not only that, to state the obvious, you can cover injuries, but players cannot get complacent because we've seen already this season Trent Robinson dropped such key members. Like Angus Crichton started the season in Cup, I believe. Connor Watson, potentially similar. They dropped Nat Butcher this week, who was a starting edge at the start of the year. Cyril Wong was starting edge at the start of the year. He's now been playing Cup for a while. Because they have such a luxury of riches, players can't get complacent in the pack because they'll be playing New South Wales Cup. And they're accountable for everything they do. And you're seeing it. Like, you even add now Victor Radley, who's been moved to an edge and killing it. It's just like, take your pick.
Yeah, it is actually crazy the amount of depth they have.
Roosters just confirmed that Egan Butcher's out for the year with ACL.
Bloody hell. He's had a treacherous run with injury. In regards to the play, man, in the first 3 minutes, Dom Young, just line break. Just like crazy, completely tears them apart. And then literally 5 minutes later, Tupou, line break. It's like a cheat code when you got those blokes running out of their own end. They are unstoppable. And Roosters are absolutely a premiership threat this year. And like I know the Raiders, like they missed 60 tackles or whatever, but when you look at this Roosters side on paper, like they are genuinely tough to defend again. When they get on their roll, how do you slow the ruck down? Like seriously, how do you do it?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be on the sideline for this one, and just watching the Roosters outside backs, how big they all are.
They're so big.
It is insane.
Yeah.
They are massive. I'll tell you what I thought was really interesting, and as I said, I was down there, and someone said to me before the game, they said, this will be interesting to see how the Raiders start, because when they usually run out, it's to the Viking clap, and they start with a lot of emotion. In this game, they walked out at the smoking ceremony, and then they did the Viking clap. Yep. And yeah, someone at the Raiders said to me about 20 minutes before kickoff, this will be interesting because they won't have that emotion they normally play off. He goes, I reckon they'll start slow here. And they came out and the Roosters just went bang, bang, bang. And they just had so much momentum quickly.
Like Radley just hitting a hard line and just no one got near him. What do you think of the performance?
Yeah, like people, a few people said to me, tongue-in-cheek, the Raiders blown away. Like, how do you feel? How disappointing? I'm like, of course, a 44-16 scoreline is disappointing, but going into the game, I'm looking at these two teams on paper, and I'm like, the Roosters are unbelievable.
Yeah, it's
like you mentioned their back three and how powerful they are and their yardage coming out of their end. Kempy, Teddy Tupou, Dom Young. They had Suoliti and Joe Manu on top of that. Like, I just thought we were up against it from the get-go, and we can grind our way to victories. And, don't get me wrong, we're capable of beating a team like the Roosters on our day, but a lot of things have to go our way. It has to turn into a dogfight.
Yep.
The Roosters team on paper, they're bloody explosive, and they had too much class for us.
I thought being out there as well, I thought there was some pretty harsh calls against the Raiders.
Mate, we'll get into it. What do you think of the game?
Roosters very, very good. I thought they were really tough to stop. You already touched on a few of their players who could. I did like Radley on the edge. I like that new little home for him. I think that's going to be a real handful for a lot of teams to deal with. Got to give a shout out to James Tedesco, who I thought was elite. Very, very. He couldn't have played a much better game. 2 try assists. Didn't overplay his hand. I thought he was really good in this game as well, and went a long way to the result too.
Yeah, I thought Teddy's game was outstanding. As you said, 2 tries, 2 try assists, but the 3 line break assists is what I love to see. Like, that's him ball playing, showing us, and that's what was so perplexing through that period last year. Where it's like, we know he can ball play. Where has it gone? So yeah, I agree. I thought Teddy, he seriously could not have done more, and I think that the way he played on the weekend and him not getting selected is evidence of it had nothing to do with how good he is as a player and more to do with the fact that it's just combinations. It's just combinations and timing. All right, let's talk about it. That penalty try, which funnily enough, I actually thought the bunker made some really good calls in this game outside of this one. But the penalty try, I just can't for the life of me understand it because, first of all, he barely touched him. Like, if we're going to start pulling up that happens every time you run through the line. But let's say you do. A penalty try is supposed to be a probably that he probably would have scored. This was a very unique situation where you could see that he knocked it on. So what I mean is that, like, usually when someone gets taken out, they don't even get to the ball. So you go, well, look, we don't know how the ball would have bounced, but he didn't even get the opportunity, and he most likely would have scored. But in this instance, you saw the scenario of him getting to the ball and missing the bounce and knocking it on. Now, you could say, okay, well, him pulling his shoulder back a little bit, that held his run up by a second. Like, we're splitting hairs here. A penalty try for that, like, I think it's a penalty max, not a professional foul, a tiny sticking of your hand out. I think the Raiders in that situation were super hard done by.
I don't like how the penalty tries evolved. Like, it used to be
Certainty stuff.
Yeah.
certainty. There is no possible way that try wouldn't have been scored. Like, watching that the other day, and it was one of those classic rugby league decisions where the more they looked at it, the more you went,
Yeah,
fuck,
for sure.
they're talking themselves
Yeah.
into something here. He got there. All he had to do was fall on it. He still knocked the thing on.
Well,
how can you say he definitely would have scored if Smithies wasn't
When
there?
he didn't. And also, Elliot Whitehead kept saying he didn't, he knocked it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knocked it on. Like, he literally got there and knocked it on, proving the point that it wasn't even probable that he would have scored. He showed that he wouldn't have scored because he knocked it. What do you think, Timmy?
Yeah, no, much the same. And like, I actually didn't like back in the day when it was we're definitely going to score. Because I'm like, you can never be sure that you're definitely going to score. I liked that it became a little bit more subjective of probably going to score the try. But as I said, we saw it play out. Like,
Mate,
See, I'd prefer it if it was definitely, because subjective is where we get in trouble.
Yeah.
I get that. I do
can't
get
do it.
that.
see, I don't mind it. I'm more with Timmy on this one. I don't mind it with going, look, he probably would have scored. But in those scenarios where it's like there's so much grey area, it's like he barely got touched, he did get to the ball, he did knock it on. Like, the probability is just going like less and less and less. I think that specific one, I don't mind though. Look, send him for 10. If you don't want to give the penalty try, send him for 10.
I think that's where it balances out for me. That like when it was definitely, if they said, all right, he wasn't definitely going to score it, so the player's going to go to the bin,
Yeah.
and then they lose a player for 10 minutes, which often can be more detrimental to a team than actually giving away the penalty try. So now that it's like, when they say probably, and he probably would have scored it, they award it, but the bloke doesn't go to the bin. So I feel like that balances out quite nicely.
Yeah. So look, and as I said, ironically, like there were other calls like where Joey Manu intentionally let go of the ball and the bunker said intentionally. So this is one where I went away from the game having forgotten about that call, and I was like, I thought the bunker was quite decisive and got through, but that one was a bit of a Barry Crocker. Oh, and ironically, so they go up the other end. Elliot Whitehead knocks the ball on, and that's a terrible call by the bunker as well. Well, actually, sorry, the bunker can't rule on it. The bunker can't rule on the knock on. Yeah. And so it's like, you know what? Two shit calls just cancel each other out. And that, they're back to zero pretty much. So I guess the footy gods were looking after both teams.
And in a 44-16 scoreline, that's
Doesn't
not
really
deciding the game. So
In regards to, we'll keep on the Roosters. I'm going to sound negative here because I just gave Teddy a rap. But I just made a note here. Tedesco, 3 minutes to go. He overcalls on the short side with nothing on. Then he puts a bad kick in and they end up like knocking it or something. It ends up being nothing. And I just wrote in my notes, like, that's an example of Teddy overplaying his hand. Look, I got, like, they're 44 points up. The game's over. Like, I'll just let your halves do their thing. Like, you don't need to, like, just to let your team do your thing. Like, you're 44 up. You've had an incredible game. You scored 2 tries, set two up. Just don't overcall when your half's sitting there calling. I thought that was just a tiny example of when you get into Origin, you don't want getting overcalled, Hines getting overcalled.
And that's where habits creep in at NRL come finals time for the Roosters, where bad habits creep in. And if he does that in finals time when he probably shouldn't overplay his hand and making the wrong decision and injecting himself in the wrong time, maybe it can cost him a game. Like it's you don't want
as I
these bad
said,
habits.
I think that was a little example for me of like, if you're looking for reasons why he probably didn't get picked, especially when Hines is going to be in there, that's probably a reason.
It's like Penrith being the pinnacle, they don't have these bad habits. They don't allow these bad habits to creep into their game. They're the same team in round 4 as they are in a preliminary final.
Yeah. And I highly doubt Dylan Edwards is overcalling, with 3 minutes to go. Like, Cleary's getting the ball. So, again, that's nitpicky. He was friggin' amazing. If put it this way, if you took aside Kinney's performance in regards to he beat a Broncos with the Titans decimated and you just looked at individual performance, he was the best fullback of the weekend. So he was incredible. But that was just a little thing I was like, But yeah, Roosters, absolutely scary. Dom Young, Tupou, Suaalii, Manu was incredible. Isn't Manu? It's almost like I don't want to be disrespectful to his opponents, but it's almost like it's too easy for Manu sometimes.
Mate, watching him live and up close, it feels like every time he gets the ball, he's expecting to burst through.
It is just like, it's almost like just fun, like, turn it on here, something mad. Just crazy. So good. Okay, now on to the Raiders. Obviously really disappointing, but what I loved, 7 minutes to go, the game's over, but you guys are chasing points. What happens? Hudson Young, he gets a line break, and he sets up a try in that same set for the Raiders. When the Raiders need points, he might be the best in the business as far as forwards goes. Like maybe him and Fafita, but the amount of times when the Raiders are desperate for points, whether it's the game's over but they're just chasing points or the game's in the balance, he just somehow, some way does something.
And when you put him and Fafita in the same sentence, you go, okay, Fafita should be that guy. He's a genetic freak. You stand next to Hudson, like he's not small or anything, but he's just how he just pulls it out of his ass constantly.
Well, he looks like a guy that's just worked really hard to get big, whereas Fafita is like genetically gifted, unbelievably.
Well,
so.
is there another team in the comp? You said Fafita's the exception, but is there another team in the comp where your best attacking player is a forward?
Yeah.
I don't, probably off the top of my head.
Warriors at times this year, probably.
Yeah, but still like SJs and Chans and stuff.
Probably the closest argument, though.
Yeah, but like Hudson, when we need points, it is we have players around Hudson Young.
Yeah,
how to
which
get
is
him
craziness.
into it, and we go to him. Like no other team does that, except for the Titans.
Yeah, except for the Titans. And even then, that's more of like Fafita just taking a scoot or something. Whereas you guys literally have plays around getting Hudson Young the ball. Look, there's no denying you're at home. It's 44-16. It's not good enough. But like you could see Ricky Stewart, and you can never question Ricky Stewart's toughness in regards to like he'll never turn his belly over and just be like, oh yeah, I'm done, I'm surrendering. But even in the press conference, like he was alluding to like this roster that we're playing. Like guys, come on.
Well, I think if you want to tell whether the Raiders are in or out of a game, you just look at the minutes that he plays Morgan Smithies for. Whenever they're out of a game, Ricky knows it. He pulls Smithies and just says, "Fuck it, I'll just save him for next week."
I tell you what, Tarpanair. I cannot stress enough how much praise this bloke deserves, and he doesn't get. If he was at any other club, he would be spoken about the same way we speak about Adam Fanua-Blake, Payne Haas, all those, Fisher Harris. They got pumped. Like, the Raiders got pumped. 44-16. This is what he had in 60 minutes against that forward pack that we just talked about. It was too good. 19 all runs, so 15 of these are hit-ups. 175 metres and 64 post contact and 30 tackles in a team that got pumped. Like, tell me, like, there's even games where Payne Haas, Broncos are getting dominated and he doesn't do stats like that. Like, obviously, he does. There are games when he does do stats like that when the Broncos lose. But that's how good Tarpany is. Like, a forward pack that is completely dominating him, and he can still run for 175 metres in 60 minutes.
And a very good player for a long time now.
He is criminally underrated. Now, those who know rugby league rate him. But, like, for example, if he was eligible for the Blues, he would be a lock in the front row, him and Payne Haas. That's your front row for the next 5 years.
You wouldn't think twice about it.
You literally wouldn't think twice about it.
Yeah.
He doesn't get anywhere near the raps he deserves.
I don't think he's had a bad game in about 5 years.
And
I don't remember what that game was either. I'm just assuming there was one there somewhere.
Just assuming it happened. And also, this is the same, Tarpanair and Ricky Stewart, they haven't always seen eye to eye. Mate, he is such a good leader. He is such a good player, and he's a credit to his club. He's a credit to to rugby league. I love watching him play, and he definitely does represent that Māori, that Kiwi culture of like never say die attitude. I don't care who I'm come up against. I'm going all day.
This is personal opinion, but I actually rate him second to Haas.
Yeah, wow.
In the NRL.
Yeah, wow. I mean, again, you go back to that record win over Australia. Fisher Harris, I think he got man of the match. And I understand because of the leadership that he showed. And granted, I'd probably give him a 2 for that, purely for the leadership that he showed. But the best player on the field was Tarpanair.
Yeah.
And it wasn't close. He was outstanding. So, yeah, he was awesome.
Before we move off that game, shout out to the Raiders. Just been out there the other day and seen, not only what they did for Indigenous round in their ceremony before, but they also had a big thing at the game there where they handed out a jersey for Troy Dargan, who was Indigenous as well, and they had his old man out there before the game, and it was just really, really special to see.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Such a sad story, man.
Terrible, yeah.
Oh, all right. No, it's great by the Raiders. Yeah, on an important round too as well, Indigenous round. Yeah.
How'd you enjoy the capital, mate? You thinking about moving down there yet or what?
I wouldn't say moving down there, but I was very impressed with the Raiders, how they do things and how much they lean into their history.
They're a bloody good club.
Very good club, yeah. It was very impressive. They have like where the players run out, and you never see it on the cameras. Like you always see that angle where the players walk out of the sheds, but just around the corner, there's literally a hallway that before the game, they just line it up with kids and all the players walk through there and sign, and all the Canberra Raiders boys have so much time for all the fans and everything. It was a really positive experience to see it all.
You nipped down to Mooseheads or?
Didn't make it down there.
Next time.
I hear they do ice baths in milk. You heard that?
Lime milk as well, yeah.
I like that.
There's a famous photo of Terry Campese in a bathtub of lime milk with just kids all around him pouring it in. One of the great shots in rugby league history.
It genuinely is one of the greats in
Rugby league
history.
Blue green algae out of
If that's not Canberra Raiders, I don't know what is.
Also, shout out, I think it's Papali'i, Savage, and Hosking. They did they were at an opening for ASIC store, and my wife's parents, who are big Raiders fans, they went down and said hi and said they were very nice. Nice young gentlemen, they said. I said, fuck those guys, man.
I was talking to Hosking on Saturday. Really nice guy, good fella. And
you were actually talking to Timmy the whole time? It's like,
pretty much, yeah. He said to me, he goes, mate, a third of the DMs I get are about me looking like your mate.
Okay, before we get into it, we're now in all Mr. Liquor stores and Liquor Stack stores. If you're in the store and you don't see Bloke, you can ask them to order some in. Ask politely. Grab a case of Bloke beer, easy drinking that. Also, Harrigan's at Cameron Park with their footy and a fade during Thursday night games. $30 will get you a schooner, a bloke, and a haircut. They're also hosting a watch-along for Origin 1 in conjunction with the Mark Hughes Foundation. Legends like Danny Badiris, Mark Hughes will be making appearances and talking all thing Origin. Support Harrigan's in Cameron Park. They've been on board with Bloke beer for a long time, and we really appreciate it. Alrighty, let's get into it, shall we? You can watch this game on KO too, guys. Make sure to watch all your rugby league on KO, and you can also watch all your basketball, Eastern and Western Conferences finals live with ESPN on KO. We've got the Mavericks and the Timberwolves fighting it off in the Western Conference, and the Pacers and the Celtics going at it in the Eastern Conference. There's plenty of room for everyone, so get on board with KO, now also available on Hubble.
Don't forget the T20 World Cup as well.
Don't forget the T20. All right, Panthers defeat the Sharks 42-0. If you ever wanted, it's almost like a lion and there's been flies like picking at it, just picking at it, and you think the lion is slowly dying, baby, and then that lion turns around and goes, "Motherfuckers, I'm still the king," and that's what happened with the Penrith Panthers. No more picking at the carcass, baby. No more flies. I'm about to tell everyone I'm still the fucking big dog. They absolutely dominated the Sharkies and sent a warning shot across the NRL saying, okay, for the last few weeks, I'm sure there's a few clubs that started thinking, hey, we might be on Penrith's level. And they said, no. No one's on our level at the moment. We are one of the best teams to ever be assembled, and absolutely dominated the Sharks. From minute 1 to minute 80, it wasn't even close. Like literally from the first sets, it was game over. And they did not let up. Even in the last minute of the game, they're 42-0 up. Their scramble defense is crazy. Like they've got blokes from the other side of the field making cover tackles. This was a Penrith Panthers masterclass and showed just everyone how far they are away from this incredible side.
They are just relentless. They are real. You know, you're drowning, they'll put a hose in your mouth. And there was that scramble at the end that was just...
What kind of hose?
Wow. Well, I had to try and compete with the flying carcass. Through me. Okay. Don't take me a fly.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, they are just ruthless the way they go. And, you know, they're missing players. It's round 12. They're on the eve of losing everyone to Origin. At 24-0 up, you would have thought, okay,
Get on the
foot off the gas.
Yeah.
Nope. We're just going to go to Shark Park, take on the first place Sharks, who have lost Nico, and we're still going to keep fucking giving it to them.
And also, like, the spiteful nature of being party poopers. Because there was a party in Shire. I lived there. There was a party. Everyone's going, yeah, the Sharkies, we're premiership contenders. We've thrown off the shackles of big games. And Penrith, of the spiteful nature, go, we are going to poop your party all night long, baby. Big poo. They did a big shit in the middle.
Throwbacks to Engadine, almost.
A big shit in the middle of Shark Park and left.
And left.
Just left.
The flies will move from the carcass over to the
onto
big
the poo. Very disrespectful.
Oh my god.
Very disrespectful. You couldn't take the 2 points. You had to do a shit in the middle of the other. Mate, yeah.
4.5 hours into a podcast, this is what you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, absolutely incredible from the Panthers. Like, I'll be honest, even I was like looking at the forwards. I was looking at, okay, for example, Fisher Harris. I was like, watching him this year, being quite flat. And I was like, did the Panthers, now obviously he wanted to move back to New Zealand, family, all that kind of stuff. But did the Panthers see something that we didn't? Was he beginning to fade a little bit and the energy wasn't as high? And that's why they were quite open to allowing him to go back to Warriors? No, they didn't see anything because he was a beast on the weekend. He's just as explosive as ever. Leota as well. Just reminding everyone that when these two, the Bash Bros, which you can follow on Instagram, when they turn it on, they just dominate teams. Like, there is no forward pack that has been able to go with them when these boys want to turn it on.
Yeah, I was out at this game and I was expecting... I thought Penrith would win. I was relatively confident just because of that loss to the Warriors last week, and listening to Ivan Cleary, I was going to say listen to him chat. Listen to him not chat, really,
He was
in that.
angry.
He spoke for all of about 27 seconds in that one, I think it might have been. You just like, and what we've seen with Penrith, I don't think it would have mattered who it was or where it was played on the weekend. I think they were coming out and winning by a similar margin. And you're right, Kempy, like from the second Fisher Harris busted through for that first try, you're just like, this is going one way and one way only. And like looking at the numbers from it, they ran for 2,000 metres, 2,003 metres, the Panthers. The Sharkies 1,021. This is one of the better forward packs in the competition, the Sharkies, who pick a 4-forward bench, who have been very dominant this season. They just made them look like children, didn't they? Penrith, absolutely relentless, completed 87%, 42 from 48.
Five repeat sets.
Yep, coming into the game, the Sharkies were averaging over 5 line breaks a game. Line breaks were 6-0. It was just elite rugby league from Penrith.
I never know how much to read into this stat, but I don't know if I've ever seen a bigger gap. The time in possession is 14 minutes difference.
14 minutes.
21 minutes for the Sharkies, 35 for the Panthers. Once again, never know how to read that stat, but I've never seen a gap that wide.
And like, the Sharkies were very poor, don't get me wrong, but people are going to look at this and go, oh, you know, you're absolutely belted by the Panthers, you're pretenders. I genuinely think Penrith do this to any team in the competition on the weekend. What do you
Right now, the only team I reckon could have withheld up to that, maybe Roosters. And I think the Panthers still win, but I think they're the only team that I think has the actual squad on paper to go with the Panthers when they're like that right now.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable that you can talk about this team in that sort of vein when I think they're missing the game's best player.
Like, they're literally missing Nathan Cleary, and they just did that.
Yep.
Against a team that not missing anyone. You could say Trindle, but I'd say Atkinson's got that 6 jersey at the moment.
Liam Martin only played half the game and wasn't himself anyway. It was just relentless.
They're on their third choice halves replacement as well, on top of that.
And he got injured anyway.
Yeah, he got injured. They moved their 5'8" to halfback to play a completely new role.
Mate, they are just... Like, we're witnessing greatness. It's that simple. Like, you can try and make all the excuses you can and look for reasons as to what... But they are just on another level. It's that simple. We've already spoken about it. But Luai, you know, he came through the grades, I think, playing 7. So... Like, for people that have been following him, they may not be surprised how good he was at 7. Look, I know he played 7 for Samoa, but the game on the weekend, I honestly didn't think he had that in him, that kind of 7 role. I did not know. The kicking game, he played like a genuine 7. Like, I didn't really see much of the 6 in him. I saw it, like, if you had just woke up, started watching rugby league in that game, you would have think that guy's been a 7 for the last 5 years. Like, that's how good he was in that role.
Well, had you watched his entire career outside of the last 3 premierships, like him coming through and everything, he was a halfback. He was... Must have excited you, Ham.
Absolutely. Bring him on. So, basically, he's going to probably do a 4-peat this year. Let's say he wins Origin, then he comes and snaps our streak at the Tigers, wins Premiership next year. He'll be an immortal very soon.
I thought you were talking about your spoon streak.
Oh, come on. Come on. What it take us from the outhouse to the penthouse, Camp. It'll be something very special. Looking forward to it.
Like Luai, pretty much every opportunity he's had to play is an out-and-out number 7. He's excelled at. You know, Samoan World Cup being the big one. But even this season when Cleary's been out in the past, they had Schneider filling in for Cleary, and Schneider played as the organising number 7 primarily. Jack Cole, who's an out-and-out 5'8" and a ball runner, and that's why Luai had to make the shift to 7. Obviously, he's already signed that contract with the Tigers, but let's say, like, if Nico doesn't play this week and Luai plays as the organising number 7 for the Blues and comes out and kills it and the Blues win, what does that do to his value as a player?
Mate, I mean, the Tigers, I wouldn't say a bargain because he's on a big wicket, but it goes, like, the conversation of, like, why would you sign a 6 on $1 million goes for, that's a great signing, like a club-defining signing.
Yeah. And the other one, like... Not to say people say he can't do it without Cleary, but that he's not one of the best halves in the game without clearing this Penrith side around him. Like, if you can come and do it at origin level without Cleary as the 7, it'll just be like,
You know what?
argument dismissed. What?
If he plays 7 and wins the Origin series, think about how many New South Welshmen that hate him because he's a villain
Yeah.
are gonna. He'll be like the most loved villain. Like the narrative around Luai will change from like, man, I fucking hate Jerome Luai. He's a grub. He's this. To like, he's our villain. Like, it will be one of the greatest turnarounds ever in rugby league.
But then, like, if he was to do that, you then go back and look at his record and go, hold on.
It makes sense.
He won a Toyota Cup as a halfback. He won a New South Wales Cup. He won 3 premierships in a row. He took Samoa all the way to a grand. Like it's getting to the point with Jerome Luai where it's like, what more does he have to do?
Yeah, for sure. Like, the reason why he doesn't get the credit he deserves is because he is a polarising figure. If he was a loved number 6 where, did all the right things and everyone loved him, everyone would be like, well, of course he can play 7. Look at his junior role. Look at everything he's achieved. Where I think it's people want to count Jerome Luai out.
And it's also because he does have a lot of critics out there who aren't big fans of him, it's such an easy one for them to be like, yeah, but he can't do it without Cleary. Cleary makes him look good. It's just an easy throwaway
And it makes
for
them feel better as well because they don't want to give him credit.
Yeah.
You don't want to give a bloke you hate credit. Here's a crazy stat: 24 kicks, 641 meters. Did any of us here think that he could do that in a game of rugby league? No. I didn't think it. And we have been so pro Luai for so many years. With a lot of negativity, very easy to hate on Luai with some of the stuff he said and off field, all that kind of stuff. But I just think it's incredible. You got to be a special type of player when the pressure is ratcheted up. Like, we have to remember as well, he played the grand final last year with a completely fucked shoulder, needed surgery. Now, if he was a love player, we'd be talking about the bravery of Jerome Luai. But because he's polarising, we talked about, he was shit until Cogger came on. And he gets no credit for the fact that he played a whole final series needed a shoulder reconstruction. Because he's polarising, he doesn't get the flowers he deserves. It's really that simple. If he was loved and not polarising, that would go down as a heroic performance. But because he's polarising, he gets talked about how they didn't even need him. They could have used Cogger. Give me a break. It's incredible what he's done.
But I think you also need to give him respect from that final series last year that, Ivan Cleary could have made that call at any point. Go and have surgery. We can win with Cogger. He still decided, no, we still need Jerome.
Yeah. It's just, I think that once it's all said and done and we move on from the polarising nature or whatever, I think people are going to look back and go, you know what? Luai was a lot better than we gave him credit for. And I think on the weekend, he was going up against the Dally M7 of 2 years ago, currently leading the Dally M's. And he is so confident in his own ability. He took it to him. He genuinely took it to him and he dominated. I think Luai was outstanding. Okay, in regards to other players, and Edwards got through 1,000, 224 runs, 250 metres, 48 post contact, 7 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks. Who else we got here? Yeah, anyway, we've spoken about enough. We'll get to the next game. The next team. Isaiah Yeo, just quickly. Fuck. Seriously. 25 runs, 195 metres, 57 post contact, 4 tackle breaks, 28 tackles, only 2 missed. He is another guy that I still, even though he is appreciated, I still don't think he gets enough raps. I still don't think it.
I think he's so consistent that he's underappreciated.
He getting close to Tedesco areas when he was on his run of 4 years of form. Isaiah Yeo's in that similar phase. You expect this from him now.
Done.
Okay, on to the Sharkies. Look, I don't want to be too hyperbolic, but if I'm being honest, I feel like that performance erased all the good work they've done in the last month.
Mate, they were so close in my mind. You're just going, they're the real deal.
They're there, yep.
This is the side. And then, just unfortunately, just the way they just rolled over against this side. And I understand it's Penrith Panthers, one of the best sides we've ever seen, 100%. But this Sharky side, they are too good to be getting beat 20-0 by a side, let alone 42-0.
That's missing Cleary.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I really do feel like this performance, because anyone that goes, they beat the Roosters or they beat the Melbourne Storm, it's like, yeah, but they got to Penrith and got absolutely, not just beaten. If they lost 24-10, I would be like, I'm still okay with saying that they've made progress and they might be a premiership threat. But to get beaten 42-0 at home, I'm genuinely maybe that the last 2 weeks are erased.
And I think Tim makes a very valid point that I think Penrith would have done this to a lot of sides, but the Sharks are a team with a squad that should have been able to compete in this game. At least,
Not
at home.
necessarily win.
But like, I look at the Canterbury Bulldogs against this same mob a few weeks ago. Didn't win, but fucking held their own.
It's very concerning. Like I really hope it doesn't derail their season, because Fitzy has a monumental job on his hand of making sure this doesn't shatter their confidence. Because, like, what do you say? 42-0, and you weren't even close.
And this is where, as well, like when they get to finals footy, and there'll be all these question marks still by the time we get to finals. Like, is this floating in the back of their heads?
Seriously, you know what? It'll make or break them. This could be the making of them, where they go, you know what? We never want to feel that again. We're never going to let that happen again. Or it could be that confidence breaking where they go, oh shit, we just really are not on that level. Like, we'll never be on that. Or at this stage, we won't be on that level.
Sharkies play next week, or have they got a bye?
They play.
Okay.
And look, granted, they've had a tough, they've gone Roosters, Storm, Penrith. But as I said, 24-10, 24-8, I don't read anything into it, but 42-0, massive concerns.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier, but it's like it had been 3 huge weeks for them. Storm, Roosters, both away into this one. Penrith coming off that loss. So you want to try and cut them a bit of slack. But I said the critics didn't come out and say, yeah, they're not premiership contenders. Clearly they're pretenders. They're not pretenders because they've just beaten 2 teams that we do consider premiership contenders. But they now, as you said, it could make or break them because they don't play Penrith again until if they get them in the finals. They don't play them again in regular season. So how's it going to impact them mentally? Because if they come out and win the next 6 in a row, people are still going to say, and it's up to them to block out this outside noise. Yeah. And that's what makes a professional club and a genuine title contenders. But they're just going to hear, yeah, but what about that Penrith game? What about that Penrith game?
Yeah. And I think the tough thing for me as well is that I know come finals time, I know the Storm have got another gear. I know Penrith have got another gear. Do the Sharkies?
Man, it sucks. I was so aboard the Sharkies train, and I haven't written them off yet. This result for me doesn't write them off, but at the same time, it puts the brakes on the train quite a lot for me.
And there's just the reality of this competition that, you know, if we were looking at the Sharks as a top 8 side, you go, okay, they're still coming first, they're doing well, but I look at them as a top 4 side that can win a premiership. So when you elevate
they should finish in the top 4 this year.
100%, yeah.
Like with where they are on the ladder right now and their draw heading home, they probably will finish in the top 4. But geez, it's got to be a weird mental game to play for yourself where you're going, we finished in the top 4, but we're a lifetime away from the best team. It's just it's a very strange mental space to be in.
Just backing up your points, they play 3 teams for the rest of the year that are currently in the top 8 for the rest of the year. Yeah, and those teams are the Dolphins, Broncos and Knights.
So they genuinely, like, unless they make the top 4, if they don't make the top 4, it should be like extremely disappointing.
They're $1.11 to make the top 4.
Wow.
$1.11.
What a weird. I can't remember the last time I saw a team with such conflicting, like where you can guarantee top 4, but they still feel a lifetime away from a team that's currently below them.
What if you they just got to put a line through this one, obviously. They basically beat themselves with a lot of things. 15 errors and 54 missed tackles.
Well, the problem is like, it's not in a vacuum. This is year on year on year.
That's true.
But that'd be probably the best way to deal with, if you're Craig Fitzgibbon, is like, just try to, you know what, anyone know Men in Black? Just get them in to go.
Yep. Good call.
Isn't it even more bizarre now when you look back on that win against Melbourne a few weeks ago? Like, that was without Nico.
It was incredible. Away from home in Melbourne, without Nico,
without Trindle too, like without either of their starting halves. And then, I was really looking forward to this game because I thought this will be a line in the sand moment for the Sharkies where they stand up.
They beat the friggin' Roosters last week, who just pumped the Raiders. It's so weird. And I wonder, like, is Penrith just their bogey team? Like, if they can find a way to get it, like they get into finals and they can go on the other side of the draw and Penrith get knocked out by someone else, could that be? Because this happened last year as well. Remember, they were going really well.
Yep.
They went out to Penrith, and Cam McGuinness made about 1,000 tackles, and they weren't even they worked their asses off, but they got tailed up. Man, it is a strange position. So I hope they bounce back. I am a huge fan of this Sharky side. They're a great bunch of characters. They play really good footy. They're good blokes. I want to see them succeed. I really do.
Bizarre to describe the Panthers as someone's bogey side, but I know what you mean.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like their game against Panthers compared to their game against the Storm and the Roosters, like they weren't not even close to where they played. Look, there's not really much to talk about in regards to performances. Oh, like some of the notes I had, it's going to sound really harsh, and this was the first note, the first error. Big game and poor error from Katoa. Plays like this are what stopped the Sharks from taking the next step. It may seem minor, but this is the biggest game of the Sharks season. Fisher Harris goes on to score 3 tackles later. And unfortunately, it is the truth. The first catch Katoa gets, and I'm a fan of Katoa, I think that backline is super underrated, he drops it. And then he dropped another one later in that game. And like that is truly the difference between big game teams and not big game teams, is that Katoa hasn't done that all year. And then the big game comes and he has a Barry Crocker.
Yeah. What are the Panthers at for the minor premiership?
Panthers for the minor premiership.
Like if Cronulla's $1.11, what's Penrith and Melbourne, who are 1 win behind the Sharks?
It's probably their draw is probably a little bit harder, so it might
Minor premiership or top 4? Minor premiership. Minor premiership, the Panthers are 210, Sharks 288. Then you got the Storm at $9, the next closest.
Storm at
$9.
$9.
Sorry, so the Sharks are $1.11 for
the
top
top 4.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, I
yeah.
misheard you. Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Anyway, thoughts on the Katoa statement?
Yeah,
Yeah,
fair.
Yep.
I thought it was cool. No worries. Great prediction, but it's all right. Whatever. Got any more odds you want to talk about?
Yeah, what do you want?
Do you want me to fuck more of them up for you? Or?
Panthers $1.06 for the top 4.
Okay. Anything else on the Sharkies, boys?
No.
Alrighty, now on to the Rabbitohs v the Eels. Rabbitohs defeat the Eels 42-26. Look, both clubs in a situation where I don't care how you get the win. I don't care what happens. Just get the win. Rabbitohs scoring 42 points. I know it was against the Eels that were quite bad, but 42 points is 42 points. In just such an important win for the Rabbitohs as to where they are right now in the competition. I'll be honest, I was pretty against Latrell at 6, and I know he didn't play long there on the weekend, but after watching him on the weekend, I'm just like, you know what, this club is in such a bad spot right now. I'm thinking just chuck him at 6 and get the ball in his hands as much as possible. Because at the moment, they've got so many injuries. Now, Jackie Whiten, he went off injured, but he was a HIA.
Yeah, HIA.
Yeah.
So he should be back soon. I actually didn't mind Jackie Whiten at 6, but any way you can get Latrell Mitchell the ball more, I think that's a good thing.
Who would you play at 1?
Man.
Because Jai Gray's hurt.
That's the $1 million question.
Well, I'd honestly look at Alex Johnson.
I think with his hammies, I don't think you could do it.
Okay, his hammies no good. Look, if there's no one, obviously I put Troll back at 1, but I don't know. I just liked him at 6. And look, maybe you can play him at 1 and you just say, mate, get him first receiver more often. But yeah, I just want the ball in Latrell's hands as much as possible because when he's in the side, since he's been back, they look like a totally different side.
And I think that once Jai Gray returns, which I imagine he must only be 3
Wouldn't be that long
weeks
away, yeah.
I think it was a 6-week injury. I'd be more than happy to. What do you got to lose?
Literally, yeah.
And just jack back to centre?
I think so. I mean, at the moment, they're running with centres at Tane Milne and Cheekham. By that point, you might get a Campbell Graham back. All of a sudden, you got a footy side on your hands.
Yeah, look, let me walk that back a little bit. I just want the ball in Latrell's hands more. So whatever you can do to do that, whether it's him getting in at first receiver, because like genuinely, I know the typical stats of meters run, that everyone wants to look at that. But mate, anything good that happens in that team, it's around Latrell Mitchell.
Yep.
I was not really keen, but I was very open to the idea of Latrell at 5'8" early in the year, and if that needs to be made, then so be it. I think Jackie Whiten's worth persisting with and giving him a crack at it first and seeing
I thought he
how
was
that
all right
goes.
on the weekend.
Yeah.
Kicking game was actually
And he will
pretty
be,
good.
mate.
Yeah.
He will be good. Well, we've seen him. He's run a Dalian medal at 5'8", so I think that's worth a crack before it. But I think if we've got a few rounds and it's not sort of working with Jack at 5'8", which I think it can, maybe worth a try.
I do think though, Cody Walker and Jack at 6, that's your play. I don't want any more young boys in there. I want Cody Walker at 7, Jack at 6. I just think they look better with Jackie in the halves. I think that he's another guy that needs his hands on the ball often. In a perfect world, when you have everyone on board, maybe you tinker with that and you put him back out in the centre. But when I look at where the Rabbitohs are right now, they just need their best players with the ball in hand as much as possible.
I think defensively as well, like I'm aware of who their centres were on the weekend and there was question marks around that due to lack of other options. But I think Jack defending that 3-man at 5'8", I think that helps the edge defence as well.
Yeah. Agreed. And he's just in a key position. Like, there's something to be said. There's only so much leadership you can have out at centre. Whereas at 6, you can be as much of a leader as you want, and they just need him. They need him around the ball. But yeah, as I said, 12 runs, 115 metres, and everyone's going to look at that and go, oh, man, what a quiet game. 3 try assists. Yes. Is he as mobile as all the other fullbacks? No, he's not. Is he, can be found out in defence when it comes to covering kicks? Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, anything that happens good in this side, it's around him. Like, he makes it happen.
And anything good that is going to happen is going to be around him. We know that.
Yeah. So it's just like, the more you can get his hands on the ball, the better. And in a year where they have been crying out for someone to kind of step up and help them turn it around, ever since Trell's back, he had that one quiet-ish game first. But the other 2 games, 2 out of the 3 games, he has been vital to their wins.
Yeah.
Vital.
Pretty much everything they've done in attack has been off the back of Latrell since he's been back.
Yeah. Which is like, yes, you could ask for more. Yes, as I said, there's certain areas you can improve. But where the club is at right now, you take that and run, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
You take that and run. Because, they nearly beat the Cowboys at Magic Round. They've beaten the Para Eels. You've got to start somewhere. So, yeah.
Since Latrell's come back from injury in 3 weeks, he scored 3 tries and had 6 try assists.
That's what I mean. He's not perfect, and you can nitpick if you want, but at the end of the day, those numbers do not lie.
No.
Those numbers tell me there's not many fullbacks at the moment that have had that 3-game run.
Playing in way better teams with gun forward packs and help around them, and he's doing this in the side that he is.
Exactly. So, yeah, there's places he needs to improve for sure, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we're talking about a team at the bottom of the table that's desperate for their superstar to make an impact, and that's exactly what he's done. Another bloke I want to give a massive rap to, Keon Kalamatangi. We gave him a rap last week on the potty and said that he'd been working hard even though things hadn't been working for the team. I really liked him at 13. Now, obviously when Cam gets back, but I've actually said for quite a while, I wouldn't mind moving Keon into the front row. With the team right now, where it's at, with the style of footy he plays, because he's not a ball player, and on the weekend he didn't really ball play that much, I actually think that he could make a bloody good front rower in the modern game of mobile front rowers.
Tell you what, he was the biggest 5'8" of all time for the mascot Jets in the under-8s. It was terrifying.
Did you play him?
No, but if you have a look at, you know how they occasionally put that clip up of Cam Murray playing for the mascot Jets?
Yeah.
If you have a look, Keon's the 5'8" in that team, and he's an absolute monster in that side. But yeah, mate, he was great. And every time he moves in the middle, he looks fantastic.
Oh, mate, I just think he's waist out on the edge. And he's got a bloody motor on him. He played 80 minutes.
Yeah.
He's a big boy. He's another guy. Get him in there. Like, when you look at their forward pack at the moment, especially their front row, they are, decimated. They got blokes moving on, blokes not in form, blokes injured. Totola and a Keon front row, starting front row, I like it. Yeah. And then, if you went Totola, Jai Arrow, and you brought in Keon, or vice versa, you brought Totola off the bench, I like it. I think that's an aggressive, dominant, can bend the line, got big motor on him. Like on the weekend, 2 tries, 23 runs, 231 metres, 85 post contact, 9 tackle breaks, a line break, 4 offloads, 33 tackles, only 2 misses, and 0 errors. I
think what we saw from the weekend was that it's worth persisting with, as you say, Kempy, at least while Cam Murray's out.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, ultimately, I want him playing on the edge and being an 80-minute back rower, but for the moment where the Bunnies can afford to try a few things and change different combinations, plays in different positions, it's worth having a crack at Kalamatangi as a middle and just seeing if he can continue this week in, week out.
Yeah.
On that note, in a season where it's a little bit gone to the wind and try things, I cannot believe Tallis Duncan is still playing sub 40 minutes.
40 minutes. Bizarre. Genuinely bizarre.
What have you got to lose out of giving him as much experience as you possibly can?
You know what you got to lose? When you don't give him any experience, he's going to go into next year with less experience when you're actually trying to bounce back.
It's bizarre. I can't.
Or someone else signs him and kills it.
Yeah. Is he off contract? No, he's not.
Don't know.
Okay. I thought Davey Moali had a great game.
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought he was outstanding. 20 runs, 185 metres, 72 post contact, tackle break, 19 tackles, only 1 missed. I just felt like there were key forwards that really stood up. Damien Cook, a try assist.
Played a bit of fullback as well.
Yeah, a bit of fullback. Love that.
Scored at centre. Shout out to Freddie.
So, yeah, like a really important win. And also, like, you look at it, Burgess, 28 minutes. Havili only 28 minutes. And so you've got guys that, like their forward pack, young forwards, like David Moali, stepping up into that role that Burgess usually filled, which is really important. Moali, he's still only 20 years old. Keon, he's still only relatively young. So if you're looking for positives towards next year, if these two blokes with Moali and Keon Kalamatangi can just keep putting in similar-ish performances, there's something to build here for next year.
Yeah, there's something to build there. And, you know, I have no doubt whatsoever so many of these guys are going to grow an extra leg when Wayne appears next year.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Alex Johnson, was it first game back, Johnson, or was it second game back?
First game back, I think. Maybe it was second.
First or second, yeah.
So it's good to have him back.
Just looking at, it didn't really matter. Like, they won the game, scored plenty of points, but Johnston ran for 67 metres on the wing. Jacob Gagai, 61 metres. Latrell, a better meterage gave him with 115. Like, I know it's not an unfair comparison, but like Brian Toto does that and more by himself. The work of three men.
They are a unique setup, aren't they? And that's where I really feel they've missed Campbell Graham this year, because he was he was their meter eater.
Yeah, there aren't many like when you talk about yardage and coming out of your own end, it's, you know, your back three, your full back and your two wingers. Your centres do a bit. There's not many where centres are your go-to guys for that. You look at Herbie does it for the Dolphins, did it at the Broncos, but Campbell Graham, they relied on that. You're right, Kempy, so much.
And just his reads in defence, his tough carries, they've missed him. Like, his argument that he's the most missed centre ever. Seriously.
It was AJ's second game back, and with that try, he equaled Billy Slater as the second highest try scorer of all time. So only 22 behind Kenny Irvine now.
Wow. Okay. Unfortunately, I thought Gagai didn't have the best game, unfortunately. That sucks. So, look, a win's a win. They scored a bunch of points, which is great, which they weren't scoring only a few weeks ago. They got the job done. Build towards next week. Now, on to the Eels. We said it, before the show started, but I cannot believe how far this team has fallen so quickly. Like, it has been... I actually thought, I know this sounds stupid, but I actually thought they were going to come out and have a big game because Brad Arthur had been sacked. Not because they don't like Brad Arthur, but just almost in memory of him, like a coach that they do like, and he would have been saying, boys, I need a big one from you now that I'm leaving. Mate, they are a genuine shell of themselves. Like, I cannot believe how far they've fallen.
Yeah, well, when you consider, like Brad Arthur's been no stranger to being under pressure over the years, but whenever he is, this team stands up and plays for him. I thought that once he was sacked, I thought they'd get up this week. And once Cody Walker was ruled out, I thought, gee, surely Parramatta, surely they're up for this and they can sense something. They just look a little bit disinterested at the moment, Parramatta.
I mean, we said it like weeks and weeks and weeks ago. They look comfortable. Like, there's no pressure on spots. They don't look like a team that's under the pump or stressed, like when things don't go their way, like they don't really respond that well. Even when they score tries, they don't really whoop up. It's just very weird. And
whoever takes over this job, I think they're going to have quite a job on their hands, because you're walking into a good roster, but you're also walking into a roster of guys who were underachievers or journeymen who the coach got the absolute best out of. I reckon it's going to be a really tough gig for whoever comes in next.
Look at no Mitchy Moses for best part of 2 months, Clint Gutherson for the best part of a month now. Take just the football side of things away. You see how much energy do they bring to this team. You mentioned celebrating tries and just all the little things and looking disinterested. Like when Gutho and Moses are on board, particularly together, that doesn't seem to be the case. Like, they get up and they're in everything, and not necessarily great look, but they're getting into rest because they care so much and they want to see, the decision goes against them and it breaks, and they're like, you can't possibly do this, we need this call. They score tries and they're the first blokes there throwing their arms up. The energy they're missing with those two out has been front and centre.
Yeah, it's genuinely bizarre. I've got to talk about it. For example, Lustig, he played 32 minutes, 0 runs, 0 metres. 22 tackles and 4 misses. Look, I get it. You're just trying to feed your halves, or they might have been on the back foot, but 0 runs, 0 metres, that's concerning. And Hands came on and they actually did score a few points with Hands and Hooker, who didn't have many runs himself, but this hooking role, it's genuinely been a disaster. Ever since they decided to sign Hodgson, and it's no knock on Hodgson, he didn't know he was going to get medically retired, but ever since that decision of losing Reid, it has been disaster, like genuine disaster for him.
I'm not sure where he sits in their roster or development contract or whatever it is, but I'd just be biting the bullet and getting Matty Arthur in there soon. I think he's going to be the long-term answer anyway, assuming, obviously, they just sacked his old man, so I don't know where that leaves them, but I think he is young, inexperienced, but could quite possibly be the best hooker option there.
Well, I mean, I'd just be sitting there going, I'd be bringing him in and going, no pressure. We don't expect you to set the world alight. Don't have to worry about getting dropped or anything like that. Just go out there and do your job for the rest of the year, or at least for a few, try him for a month, and then you put him back in reserve grade to just ease the workload on him. Because at the moment, like, it's just not working. No. It's just not working.
It's interesting, like, with Gutho and Moser potentially back this week, Blaze Talangi, shining light for the Eels, and like one that you want to get as much time into as you can. In attack, he's been terrific, but just defensively, again, just a small-bodied fullback was just had a negative impact in the first 3 or 4 tries for the Bunnies. There was a couple of barge overs basically early on, and that's just the Bunnies identifying a small bloke, defending at A defender and just going straight at him and being too big, too strong. I think Tiapo went through as well, straight through Talangi, so it's like, all right, what do you do? Because there's clearly an exceptional talent in Blaze Talangi, but do you bring Gutho back, as we spoke about, through at centre, or I just think Gutho defensively and his talk means so much to this Eels side.
Mate, chuck Blaze on the wing. Chuck him on the wing. He's not like, he's a smaller frame, but he's actually relatively tall. I don't think he's ready to be fullback in the NRL just yet. I think that look, if you're sitting there going, okay, Gutho's got a bunch of injuries, or his body is falling apart and he can't run as many Ks, okay, you put him at centre. Or if you're saying, look, we're just totally building towards next year, maybe you keep Talangi there. I do think you need to keep him in the side. I think that he, in attack, he just got that raw ability. But yeah, I agree with you, Matt. Well, I'm sure if you agree, but I would be putting Gutho back there.
I think I'd put Gutho back there. Maybe like he's shown that he can play fullback, 5'8", centre. There's no reason why I'm sure he can't play wing if he hasn't already. Could just be a really good utility to have there as cover to come on, inject at some point. Yeah,
potentially do that. Because he's definitely still rough around the edges. Heaps of potential, and he's brought a lot of energy to the side, but there's, a lot of rough around the edges stuff for him.
I'd be really tempted to leave him at fullback.
As in, and build towards next year?
Yeah.
And just Gutho centre?
I'd be very tempted. Yeah. I don't know. I just think there's something about it. And you're right, mate, he's very rough around the edges. I completely agree. But I think that when you played him in other spots, I just don't think defensively he's up to first grade at the moment. So
could you get away with him just on a sting? Like, you don't really have to make that many decisions. Like, what do you reckon? 3 times a game, the winger has to actually come in and tackle. Could you sneak?
Yeah,
him
I'd need to go back and look at the games again to see how he went defensively. But he played centre for a few games early in the year, and I thought he went quite well.
Defensively, really
struggled defensively. Now, granted, that could have been the people around him. So
it's hard.
It's a tough one. Honestly, it really just depends. Like, what is the direction of the club? Is Gutho genuinely, we've heard whispers about the fact that he can't keep putting his body through this. If that is true, then I put him at centre and I say to Blaze, and Blaze is the future, then you just build towards next year. Because their season's done. Like, it's done. Then I do that. But if they internally, Gutho is fine, he's still the number 1 fullback, and he's going to be the future for the next year, I probably put Gutho back there. In saying that, I feel like the Eels have played their hand. I mean, they were trying to bloody replace Gutho last year.
Yeah, I reckon there's a serious chance he stays at fullback, Blaze. And I can see legs in it.
I like your call, Kempy. And they just look ahead and go, it's hard because, who's going to be the head coach next year? But who's going to be the number 1? Who's going to be the fullback in round 1 next year? And whoever that is, whether it's Talangi, whether it's Gutho, that's who plays fullback straight away.
And I kind of think that's the other advantage. Like, if I'm the heads at Parramatta, I'm going, fuck, no one's job's on the line right now. Let's get some experience in the Blaze.
And when you look at this side as well, yes, Gutho is a better fullback right now, but Talangi and Gutho in centres is a better side than Gutho and then the current centres wingers they have without Talangi in the side.
At least Gutho, he'll shore up an edge.
Yep.
at the moment. And in attack, I'd be letting Gutho do whatever the hell he wants anyway.
Even swap sometimes with Blaze, like Blaze
sure.
get out there, I'll come in the middle. So, so look, really disappointing. They just, I feel like they've gotten too comfortable. I feel like the next coach coming in, he'll, I don't know if he'll move people on, but I do think he'll have a good look at that salary cap and say, is this a balanced salary cap? Like, am I getting enough out of certain people where, they're playing solidly, but are they playing worth this amount? I think that's the question they're going to have to ask themselves.
I'd be sitting there and I'd be dropping certain players and giving them a rev up. Like, someone like Sean Lane, who I think for the first time this season, or near enough, got dropped to the bench this game. Someone like Laney, who we know is underperforming from what we know he's capable of, I'd just be giving him a good old-fashioned Wayne Bennett rev up. Mate, go and have 2 weeks in your Cup.
I'm talking about next year, the coach that comes in.
Yeah, but even like moving forward this season, give blokes who you said they're comfortable and they think, I'm not getting dropped, like I'm a regular NRL player, give them a shake-up and go, no, my spot is on the line. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling you. All right. Alrighty, now we've got the great Dwayne Bennett on the line, mate. What's your question for us today?
How you going, boys? Look, this question's a good one. It's from Jason. He is a Bulldog supporter. He wants to know who, in your opinion, is the signing of the year? Who is the signing of the year so far?
Ooh, I mean...
Besides Wayne Bennett.
Okay. The signing of the year for me personally, I do think that... Like, there's been some really good signings and there's been guys that have played better. Like, for example, Critter. It's not necessarily, has he been in Dally M form for a centre? He's been playing good. But I think the impact Critter has had at the Bulldogs, you cannot put a monetary value on that. Then you also have to add into the fact that he wasn't signed on massive overs. So signing of the year so far for me is Critter and Curran. I think that they have genuinely helped change the club. Obviously, the coach... Serraldo has done that, but I think as players, their impact has been phenomenal. So it's going to be Critter and Curran for me. Then it's some honourable mentions: Brooksy, Dom Young, and Kai Pearce-Paul.
Yeah, I think those two from Canterbury are very hard to go past. One guy that I want to give a little shout out to, who, to be fair, he had a bit of a shocker on the weekend, but Tom Eisenhuth. I reckon they signed him for absolutely nothing, going to the St George Illawarra Dragons, and he's been really good playing lock for them. He's been forced to move out to centre a couple of times. I think he was injured on the weekend when he had a bit of a Barry, but outside of that, I think he's been tremendous for them.
I think you nailed it on the head, Kempy. Stephen Crichton at the Doggies this year. Look at the turnaround from that club, not only form-wise on the field, but just the culture and the fact that they were lacking an out-and-out leader, and that showed that he came into the club and took over the captaincy. And to see what they've done this season and just all the word out of the club about how well he's taken this role on board, I think Stephen Crichton's been remarkable.
Mate, who do you reckon, Dwayne?
Mate, I was going to say Brooks myself, but... Look, I have to stick to, I've got to stick to my boys, Dolphins, Herbie. Mate, look, we was already good looking before he came, but he upped the ante on looks for our club.
No, I like
but
that.
But not only that, he changes the game up. He's a great player.
He was incredible on the weekend. Yep. Okay, how do you sign up to become a Finlander, Dwayne?
Mate, it's easy. He is a dolphin gliding through the waves. You just go to finland.com.au. All right, download your digital passport on your smartphone and then look out for my special announcements. And, hey, that could point you in the right direction to winning one of our amazing prizes. And there's a lot going out. Like over the weekend, mate, Magic Round, we've seen a lot of new Finlanders. We've seen a lot of people signing up. So, we're gaining momentum. It's huge at the moment.
Oh, I love that. What was the celebrations like? Well, not celebrations, but the Dolphins, they're absolutely flying. Obviously, they struggled on the weekend, but what's the celebrations been like with such a good year, mate?
Oh, mate, look, top 4, I cannot believe it. It's a weird ladder at the moment. It's, I couldn't have predicted it at the start, but it's like a dream at the moment. And, I know on the weekend against the Wars, we sort of fell short. We had them there in the first half, and the Wars were just too strong. It's like I always say, it's hard to outcook most people in their own kitchen. And, we were over there, we were trying to outcook them, but we got cooked in the end.
Oh, cooked dolphin.
Cooked dolphin, mate, as long as it's tuna safe.
All right, so everyone head to finland.com.au, sign up to the official Finlander to get your digital Finland passport and become official Finlander. Also, there are huge prizes coming very soon. So if you want to be a chance to, the last prize was a corporate box. So if you want to have a chance to win, make sure to go to finland.com.au. Alrighty, on to Broncos v the Titans. Titans with an outstanding upset victory, missing a bunch of troops. They go up to Suncorp and get the job done, 36-34. Man, I know it's early days, but I think Des might be the man to turn this club around. They were terrible at the start of the year, but the grit they have shown in the last month has been nothing short of incredible. Like, they have everything against them. Injuries, the start of the year was terrible, new coach, but the grit they've shown is just something you haven't seen in the Titans in a very long time. I thought this was an incredible win. Yeah, the score was really high. I understand that, but this Titans side is showing grit that I haven't seen in a very, very long time for the Titans.
Hasn't it been a wild month watching this side? You know what? Like, they're still conceding 34 points, which I have my issues with. But like, this is a team 4 or 5 weeks in. I was sitting there going, are they going to win a game of football this year? Yeah. It was dire straits. You had on top of that the Tino injury. I mean, like, I think Tino, their best forward, got injured. Then I personally thought for the next 6 weeks, their best forward was Jermaine Jolliffe, who's now injured as well.
Yeah.
For them to come out and compete with the Broncos, like, you got to remember as well, like, Jaden Campbell's out, Tanner Boyd's out. Like, when you stack it all up, it's incredibly impressive.
Their halves are Weaver. So this is their spine: Weaver, Randall, Kinney, and Cleese Haas, compared to Reece Walsh, Madden, Mam, and Pat Carrigan. Like
Tony Francis made his debut in this game. What about that? Poor bastard had to score a try with one arm. Yeah. He had to put it down. Like, you could tell the 3 sets before. I was surprised how long it took them to get him off the field.
Yeah, they must have just been like, if you can try to get through it, because we are decimated right now.
Yeah.
You look at that injury toll that you just rattled off and the side they ran out with, and then you add in that Beau Fermor, a back rower, had to play at centre, then Tony Francis last 24 minutes on debut on the wing, and then Dave Fafita spends time there, another massive back rower defending at centre, who, as we said earlier, Reece Walsh had a field day on those two boys, and they still get away with a win.
Crazy. It would go down as one of the best wins in the club's history.
I'm not alone in thinking, I just thought the Broncos were going to go out and towel them up in this. And then you even add to it, like, the second half, particularly the back end of it, where they'd had these injuries and blokes playing out of position, and Titans were just steamrolling. They had all the momentum. They had that kick that Ezra Mam caught and ran the field. And that was a huge momentum changer. And when that was scored, you go, all right, like, there it goes. They can't win from here. And they come back from that as well.
Yeah. It's honestly the ticker they've shown. As I said, you can look at the points scored and you can kind of go, oh, okay, that's typical Titans. They won 36-34. But, like, the ticker they've shown to hang in games when they have no right to. They've got 2 back rowers defending out. They got Kinney, who is the 3rd choice fullback at this stage, going out there and tearing the Broncos apart. Mate, it was an amazing performance.
And they conceded 34 points, but it's not to the Rabbitohs or the Tigers. It's to the Brisbane Broncos, like last year's grand finals, with a stack of attack in them.
Who, at the start, like, I think Reece Walsh made 3 line breaks in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, 2 off his first 2 runs, essentially, just kick returns, line
couldn't
break.
touch him.
Yeah.
Because he just saw Beau Fermor in the line and goes, catch
Thanks
up.
for coming. So, yeah, the Titans are outstanding. Kinney, like, mate, 2 try assists, 27 runs, 262 metres, 74 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, 2 line break assists, I think. Mate, he was absolutely phenomenal. The amount of bombs that went up, the amount of pressure they tried to put on him, and he didn't budge. And, like, every time he ran the ball, he completely befuddled the Broncos' defence. Like, they were grasping at straws. He was amazing.
I think if you got the average NRL fan to write down their top 30 fullbacks, he doesn't get a bait in that list. And he just carved up Brisbane.
Carved them up at Suncorp with they're missing Reynolds, but outside of that, that is a nearly full-strength Broncos side.
And that is, the depth of fullbacks in this competition at the moment. Like, he's the 3rd choice fullback at the Titans.
It's just amazing. I thought Brian Kelly had another great game. I thought Fafita was outstanding. But Beau Fermor, I know he got gassed and beaten by Reece Walsh, but outside of that, he was phenomenal. He was absolutely had a try assist, 19 runs, 240 metres, 79 post contact, 6 tackle breaks, a line break assist. He was like phenomenal. Like basically out of position in the centres. Yeah, defensively had some issues, but going in and looking for work when his team needed someone to look for work, and then Fafita on the other side as well, coming in and looking for work. I hate to kind of say it because the Titans have done so many false starts before, but I really think Des may have turned a corner at the club. I know they're so far away from, you know, the top of the table, but again, I'm just seeing things that the Titans have never really done before, maybe 10 years ago.
I know it probably would have pissed you off as a Broncos fan, but, mate, watching that try that Aaron Clark scored.
Pure grit, just determination.
I love that guy, eh? I feel like he's so undervalued.
He's another guy, came on, 37 minutes, he had a try, 124 metres, 41 post-contact, 4 tackle breaks, a line break, 14 tackles, only 1 miss. Like, they just completely outplayed and out-enthused the Broncos.
Yep.
Speaking of the grit, what about the try saver from Tom Weaver on Corey Oates?
Corey Oates literally running in slow motion.
Yeah.
An incredible try saver. And Weaver, like, he's a small bloke against a big winger, won the match for him.
I like Weaver. There's something, once again, as you said, Titans have had a lot of false starts, and when it comes to halfback, they've had their fair share of false starts, but I don't know, I really like Weaver.
I like his boot. I like his kicking game. He's got a big kicking game.
It's wild kicks. For like the size of him, how big his boot is.
Yeah, 17 kicks, 517 metres, and he was literally the only kicker in the side. Like, no one else kicked, and he still got that away.
Just quickly touching back on Keanu Keeney. Like the start of the year when they moved AJ Brimson to centre and Jaden Campbell's ruled out of the early stage of the season, and all you heard out of the club was that Keanu Keeney, you know, schoolboy star, like killed it, I think, at Q Cup, did he as well, in opportunities there. Yep. And then he played, and like, okay, like he's solid, but, you know, maybe a bit overhyped. That was the first time on the weekend, and I think probably for a lot of people, they went, all right, that's where the hype came from, because that wasn't a one-off game where you go, he's just had a cracker. Like, there are so many legs in what he did in the weekend, and the one for me was he looked initially one that I wasn't sure of his ball playing ability as a fullback. Was he just one of them really good ball running, hard to tackle fullbacks? But man, his ball playing was terrific. A few of those tip-ons out to the winger, he looked electric. So, I want to see more of him now because that was unreal.
Dave Fafita, 2 try assists, 20 runs, 230 metres, 71 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, 2 line break assists, 2 offloads, 10 tackles, 4 misses. Outstanding. So, an incredible win from the Titans. Absolutely incredible. Okay, on to the Broncos. Extremely disappointing. And you know what? They've deserved this. Like, they're nowhere near the team they were last year. They got complacent. They bombed a bunch of tries. It is. They need to wake up. They need to wake up and stop thinking that they're just going to out-attack teams. Their defence has just gone to the toilet compared to last year. It is night and day. Some of the tries they let in were just like genuinely bottom 8 footy stuff, like bottom of the bottom 8 footy stuff, extremely disappointing. And, you know, unfortunately, all the good work they did last year, like, they didn't win the grand final. So you can't rest on that. They can't. And unfortunately right now, they've become complacent. They've fallen in love with their attacking footy and forgotten what got them to the big dance, which was their defence. It was their defence. They were extremely disappointing, extremely complacent, and the amount of tries they bombed from just like poor play, laziness, just a really bad performance all around. Yeah,
it was the way they went about it, wasn't it? And you're right, mate, like last year, defensively, that was so much of a better side. They've got a real sort of Hollywood sort of feel to them, don't they? That they've fallen in love. They just think that they're superstars and everyone loves them, and they're like, Brisbane are the glamour club, and you watch them for exciting footy. The same people that give them all these praises now, and they get on, oh man, just so exciting. Keep playing like this. They're going to be the same people that tear you down and make your life a living hell. They are not your friends. They don't give a shit about you as people. They only like you because you've got highlight reels. As soon as things go bad, they're going to be the same people that tear you down. So get rid of falling in love with that stuff and fall in love with being there for your mate, fucking defending in that.
And it was your exact fear, Kempy, at the start of the year. In pre-season, was the exact thing that they can't allow complacency to come into the game and getting comfortable on, we'll put points on the out-point teams. And at the moment, it's exactly what's happening. You even look at it on the weekend. You mentioned how good Bowie Fermor was on the weekend, but Beau Fermor was carving you to bits playing as a centre. Like that try, Ezra Mann was at marker and he just overcommitted and he just went, oh, thank you, step back inside, just cut through. It was like that. I think Corey Oates missed the tackle in the end. That was so far from the Broncos we saw last year.
Yeah, just complacent, super complacent, and not appreciating like the privilege that it is to wear that jersey. Like they were so good last year at respecting the heritage jersey. Not me, I'm talking about like the legends and that had made that jersey feared in the NRL. They'd finally gotten back up to that level. And I don't expect them to, if they don't make a grand final this year, like fair enough. But those losses like that against that team on that, like compared to what they have on paper, it's just not acceptable.
And full strength forward pack, I think.
Essentially a full strength forward pack. Like, for example,
the whole thing was there. Everyone was there, weren't they?
Yeah, Pia Cora, Ricky, Haas, Corey Jensen, Paddy Carrigan.
That's their best pack.
Just not good enough. There's no other words to describe it. Not good enough. And Payne Haas, he worked his backside off. You owe Payne Haas more than that. 19 runs, 235 metres, 102 post contact, 42 tackles, only 1 miss. Paddy Carrigan, 40 tackles, 0 misses. Just not good enough. There's no other word to describe it. It's just, as I said, they'll tear you down. Like all that time it took you guys to earn that love from the NRL and rugby league fans is this excitement machine. It'll be gone in a few weeks, and you just wait. There's so many people that are just waiting for the downfall of the Broncos and wait for how negative they are.
As a spectator and someone that's from New South Wales doesn't overly care how the Broncos go, God, it was wild when Ezra Mann picked up that loose ball. Reece Walsh was celebrating. And Ezra picked it up 5 metres out from his line. I've never seen it. He still had 3 blokes to beat. It was insane.
Yeah, crazy.
We'll say one thing on watching that game yesterday, and there's going to be a lot of cracks in this solution, but trying to defend Reece Walsh, there's no perfect way to do it because he's too quick and too much a freak, as we know. But this is from a purely Supercoach perspective as a bloke who didn't own Reece Walsh yesterday. I just watched everything he did so closely. The only time that I felt semi-confident that he wasn't going to shred the Titans to bits was when they up and inned him and jammed him and cut his time. Because every time he got early ball in any space, they could have had 4 defenders on 3. His footwork and his speed, he just found a way to cut through them. Granted, he went through a few back rolls at centre, but you can't give him the time and space. I think you have to do that up and in defence and jam him and cut his time down. Sure, there'll be times where, he catches, beats you, and then there'll be a broken defensive line, but I just think that is the way to try and stop Reece Walsh.
Yeah. Cleary tied in the grand final and he got stepped. The hard thing with Walsh is his footwork. Suoliti tried it over in Vegas, is he's got such good footwork when you jam in. Sometimes
you have to nail it. And I know, and that's what I mean, it's not a perfect solution, but the second you get passive and give him that space, he's going to kill you almost every time.
Yeah. Just quickly, Karapani, unfortunately, even though I thought he played really well last week, and there were parts of his game that were good yesterday, but like that last pass to Corey Oates, like that's just not NRL standard. Like that, the way that pass all come about, and so he's got a lot to work on in his game. Like if you're a centre playing NRL, you should be able to pass the ball better than that in that situation. Like I understand sometimes like it was trying to offload or whatever, but like the technique in that pass, like it wasn't NRL standard, unfortunately. So he's got a lot of good things, Karapani. I thought he was great last week. But I do think that he needs to go back and work on a few things. Corey Oates, like on the wing, unfortunately just too slow. Yeah, just not good enough. Just absolutely not good enough.
So that Karapani has got stuff to work on in his game, but fuck the footwork and the balance and everything he has. If he can work on it over the next few years, he could be a great little get for you guys.
Sure. The only thing is like you've gotten this far in NRL and you're still like passing like that. My concern is that you're choosing not to work on it. This comes from a guy who was a terrible passer of the ball. So, I think there's a few things. And also, like, defensively, I think he made some decisions. So, look, granted, he's a rookie and he's a bit down the pecking order and Broncos will get Jesse Arthurs back and all that and Katoni Staggs. But, yeah, there's just a couple of times there where it cost us. So, not good enough for the Broncos. And, look, they got the option here. They can fall back in love with defence and enjoy the plaudits that come with that, or they can keep going in this route And the amount of people that will be tearing them down, it'll be sad to watch.
Tough time for the Broncos to have one of those games when you consider bye next week and then the Origin period. So many guys are going to be in and out over the next few weeks and whatnot. Not ideal.
Very, very disappointing. Okay, Warriors versus the Dolphins. Warriors defeat the Dolphins 24-20. Really important win for the Warriors. And there was a period there at the start of the game where I was like, here we go. I think the Dolphins might blow this Warriors side off the park. What I loved about this victory for the Warriors is just the grit. Like, they are so injured. They got so many injuries in key positions. They just kept turning up, and found a way to get the job done. Dolphins, I think they'll be disappointed with that one because it'll be one of those games that they're probably going to look back at the end of the year and say, we had that. We were there or thereabouts. But, yeah, great win from the Warriors at home. Boys?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. In the lead up to this game, as the day went on, I think Chance got ruled out. Someone else got ruled out late as well.
Rocco Berry. And
Tane Torpiki.
Torpiki got ruled out too. Yeah. Mate, when I was over at the Warriors the other day, my understanding was that Chanel Harris-Tavita and Niokore weren't meant to be back after the bye. That's another 2 weeks away. So I think just because they're so desperate for players that they essentially return those guys 3 weeks early.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. For them to win this game, once again, it's rugby league, anything can happen, but I kind of gave them no hope to win this game. I really did.
Especially with those late outs. What I loved the most about the performance is that they're 18-16 up, and they had 3 6-agains in a row. That is just everyone on board, building pressure, playing smart footy when you're up. Don't be silly. Don't be stupid. Keep the ball down their end. And they ended up that. That didn't necessarily break the Dolphins back, but it did put them in good stead to just put the game away. It was a really good, smart closure of the game. And I think they ended up scoring later on. And Niokore, is that how you say it? Niokore. Geez, I've missed him. I thought he was great.
He was fantastic.
Look at their outs. From round one, they missed their entire spine. Sean Johnson, Charles Nicholl-Klukstad, Wade Egan, Luke Metcalf. On top of that, Adam Fanua-Blake, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Rocco Berry, Tane Torpiki, Tohu Harris. And they came out and beat a Dolphins side who were playing outstanding footy. What a big fortnight this has been for the Warriors. Not only to keep them in touch with the top 8 and make sure they didn't fall too far behind with key players out, but how much of a statement is this going to make to the players who are out coming back into this team? And I think you mentioned a bit of complacency with the Broncos before, Campy, but our fear for the Warriors was similar. That they were resting on what the laurels of last year and their big charge to a prelim final and what a great year it was. And they got too comfortable and, they weren't going to lose their positions. And that's what it's looked like to me with the Warriors this season. The blokes who have come in and said, no, we need to win this position. We're not regulars in this side. And they've absolutely killed it. So now the blokes coming back in are going to go, all right, if we don't lift on return from injury, we'll get dropped because Webster now knows that he can do that and he can afford to drop key players if he needs to because he'll get a response from the players taking the position. So I think the whole squad is going to benefit so much from the last 2 weeks. On top of that, the statement that Webster made to drop Adam Fanua-Blake for disciplinary reasons, and he's gone, it's been vindicated because they've won, and it's just sent a message to the whole squad. If you don't meet the standards of what the Warriors are and what I'm building here, catch ya.
Yeah.
I thought it was unbelievable too. When you think back to last week against Penrith, incredible win, but imagine how much that would have taken out of the tank.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Come back home, take on a Dolphins side who, the one thing I thought about the Dolphins is they're not going to beat themselves.
Yeah. Tough footy side. They keep you honest. They always keep you honest. Mitch Barnett continues to play bloody good footy. Jeez, he's a good footy. We talk about other players that might go to Penrith or the Roosters or Storm and improve. What about his decision to go from the Knights to the Warriors? How much that has changed his career?
Yeah.
He's genuinely becoming one of the talked about forwards in the competition. Over in New Zealand, where it's so hard to even get talked about. That's how good he's playing.
And it was when he was playing for Newcastle, he was always a good player, but it was always, okay, when's the next brain explosion coming from Mitch? Well, he's going to do something soon. And he's turned into a reliable, consistent. If you'd never watched Mitch Barnett in Newcastle and I told you, mate, this bloke's an absolute loose cannon, you would never pick it.
No way. You'd almost go, he's the opposite of that.
Yep.
He is really level-headed, goes about his business, never does anything silly. Mate, absolutely outstanding win for the Warriors. And at the very least, regardless of whatever happens for the rest of the season, at least the players underneath there is good culture being built with those players where they will turn up. It's next man up mentality. So really, really good stuff.
They just won 2 games. Nobody really expected them to. They got a bye now. They're sitting 13th, but after that bye, if they win their next game, which is against the Cowboys, they could be as high as 5th.
Yeah, wow.
Bit of a turnaround after how they
So
started.
has there ever been a team that needed a bye more?
Oh, my God. And so who they play when they get back? Knights?
Cowboys.
Cowboys. They could win that and get into the top 8. Haven't their season just completely swung around? Like, gone from disaster to, like, we're back, boys. We've steadied the ship.
And that's where as well, like, if they can come back from that bye and start to get some troops back, like, they're going to lose Mitch Barnett. I mean, he's jersey 20. They'll probably get Mitch Barnett
They'll
back
get
anyway.
back.
Like, they're not going to lose anyone to Origin. Big opportunity there.
Okay, now onto the Dolphins. Look, I'm not too disappointed with the Dolphins. Like, yeah, for sure, there was 2 points on the table. They went over to New Zealand. Like, they absolutely had the team to get the job done. In saying that, like, I'm happy with the Dolphins season. I really am. Like, and also, the development of Katoa this year has been nothing short of incredible. Watching him play, it's almost getting to the areas where, like, it feels like a privilege to watch this young kid come through the grades. Every week his game develops, and you know that in 5 or 6 years, you're going to be looking back and going, remember when he was, like, for example, you almost speak about Cleary's tough years as like myth. Like, remember when Cleary was like getting bagged by his own fans and people were saying that he should be moved on? Like, we're going to look back on Katoa. Obviously, no one's bagging Katoa at the moment. No one's saying moved on. But we'll look back and, man, I remember when he was just a kid coming into first grade. His first year in first grade was the first year of a new franchise. And he took it on his back. He came back the second year. He got dropped the first game. And ever since then, he has looked so silky. Another guy, Herbie Farnworth, was absolutely phenomenal, except for one try that he should have passed it. I'm not too disappointed with it. Like, yeah, there were 2 points to get, but not too disappointed with Dolphins.
Yeah, as a whole, I'm not disappointed with their season. I am a little bit disappointed in this game, to be honest with you, all things considered. With the squad that they ran out with, I thought they definitely should have won this game. Just on Isaiah Katoa, mate, like, just the amount of time that he has. It's like everything's just in slow motion. It's
crazy. His tempo, his control of tempo, of knowing when to go fast and when to pull up, it puts defences in 2 minds, because sometimes when he pulls up a lot, if you jam, he's actually, instead of being a metre away from you, he's actually 3 metres away from you because he's ruined your tempo and your speed.
How's the way he, like, sprints up onto the ball, he comes to, like, a complete stop, and the defence stop with him, and then as soon as they lose, as you said, Kempy, that tempo, he takes off again.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing a half play the game at the same, like, being able to play the game at his own speed in a long time.
Yeah, especially that young. Like,
that young.
Unbelievable.
Oh.
A big negative for him is this is what probably cost him the game. It's the 5 penalties to 0 for the Dolphins.
It was definitely one they let slip.
Yeah.
They should have, with not to discredit what the Warriors did, but the Dolphins, like some of the games they shouldn't have been winning this year and how impressed they've been, this was one that, with quite a strong squad, that they should have won.
I thought Hammer was disappointing. I thought that he a little bit of a quiet game and also had 3 errors. Unfortunately for Hammer, like, don't get me wrong, in Queensland for sure, but he's got pressure now. He can't afford many games like that where Wayne isn't going to go, all right, mate, off to the centres you go. Fuller comes in. Now, he's got plenty more games to do that in, but I thought he was a little bit disappointing.
especially off the back of the week before where he just went an absolute million. I thought this was going to be a big statement game for Hamisa.
Asako, once again, 2 tries, far out. His career turnaround has genuinely been the craziest thing ever.
It's one of the craziest storylines of all time, I think. The way that he's turned his game around is unbelievable. I think Ewan Aiken was the other one that I thought was really good in this game, and he's, at the start of the season I was like, does he make their 17 or not? Now he'd be just about be my first pick every week.
Yeah. Another, speaking of Katoa again, the only thing that I think he really needs to work on is just defensively some of his reads. He doesn't necessarily have bad in-contact defence. Like, I'm never worried about that he's going to pull out of tackles or hands. Just sometimes he might shoot up and it's not even like shot up in a try scored, but he'll just fall off the tackle or something like that. So that's probably the biggest error in his game that he needs to work on is just defence.
With all these halves going down for the Blues, I think the only reason that he probably wasn't, not to say he was going to get a spot, but more firmly in the conversation is just defence at the moment. But That'll come, and I think in 12 months' time, as he works on that, he's going to be right in that frame.
Well, the thing with Katoa is that with a lot of sevens, you have to worry about their size, and you're like, man, they just, unfortunately, no matter how much they put their body in front, they're going to get bumped. The positive for Katoa is size is not an issue. He's actually quite a big boy.
You don't realise how big he is until you're next to him. He's huge.
Alrighty, let's get into our tips and let's get the fuck out of here.
Yep. All right, Thursday night footy. Eels, $2.71. Host the Sharks, $1.46. 6.5 is the line.
Buy around footy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, brought to you by our partners at Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. And a massive thank you to Sportsbet as always. We'll have our Bloke in a Bar multi ready to go by probably Thursday.
Yep.
So give that a follow. Give Hammy a follow on the feed as well. Alrighty, so we're going Eels versus Sharkies. What was the...
Yeah, Eels, $2.71. Sharks, $1.46. 6.5 is the line.
Sharks. I think they're coming back with a bang. I know they're missing Hines, but I think they go like a Hines and McInnes, but I think that they'll be desperate for a bounce back game.
Yep.
Are we ruling Moses out?
It's Arthur said last week that he seems to, so not Arthur. I think Barrett. Sorry, it's been a long podcast. Barrett said he thinks Gutho and Moses will be good to go.
Oh shit! Okay,
which
that
makes it
changes
so hard.
Oh man, with Moses, you almost. When did he say that?
I believe it was after the game on the weekend in the presser.
Shit. All right. I'm gonna go Para.
Head to head?
Head to head.
Okay.
Mate, there's no way Moses is accepting any of the nonsense that's been going around.
This is so hard.
Yeah, I'll go Para. I don't know.
I'll go Sharks win, Para cover.
Yep.
I'll go Sharks.
I'm going to go Sharks and Para with the start. I'm with you, Timmy. Friday night, we just got the one game. The Knights, $1.54, host the Dogs, $2.49. 4.5 the line in that game.
You would assume Matt Burton can play, right?
Nah, 18th man.
Oh, 18th, of course, yeah.
No Critter as well.
Yeah, I'll go Knights.
Yep.
Yeah, Knights off a buyer.
Yep.
Nice.
Knights aren't missing anyone, are they?
Yeah, Knights.
Knights, yeah.
Yep. Knights for me as well. Then we got the Panthers, $1.47 when they host the Dragons, $2.70. 5.5 the line in that one.
Panthers.
Yep.
Yeah, Panthers.
Panthers.
Panthers for me too. Dolphins at our
Aaron
favourite venue.
Cleary's going to play for the Panthers.
At our favourite venue, KO Stadium. Dolphins $1.61 against the Raiders, $2.32. 3.5 is the line in that game.
Dolphins.
What is it, 3.5?
Yep.
I'll go Dolphins, Raiders to cover.
Oh,
Dolphins
No.
missing Hammer. Anyone else?
Trey Fuller comes in though.
Yeah.
Bloody good.
Was line?
3.5.
Far out. I'll go.
Whenever you're ready, mate.
I'll go Dolphins.
Edge of my seat's copping a beating.
I will go the Dolphins.
Yep.
Dolphins.
Yep. Dolphins for me as well. Then we got the Chooks, $1.15 against the Cowboys, $5.50 at Allianz on Sunday. 16.5 is the line. Big line.
I'm going Chooks, Cowboys to cover.
Yep.
Yeah, Chooks cows.
Chooks.
Chooks, Cowboys with the start. And that's it.
Okay, that's Face the Music, brought to you by Sportsbet. And I'll go fuck myself.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.